down the fucking internet. I'll have a forum and a blog and links from PDP. I'll get reviewed by a web star, and William G. The world can be a royster. I think it's a safe bet when you're the greatest web cartoonist on the fucking internet. When you're the greatest web cartoonist on the fucking internet.
Great. That was fantastic. I love our intro song there. That's the web cartoonist song by Owen Dunn.
Yeah.
And,
I like the MoCat lip sync.
Oh,
Yes.
Well, you know, I dance to that song every single time. And since MoCat is MoCatting, you know, he dances too. So,
well,
yes.
Like
MoCat.
it was like,
Yeah.
that didn't work well.
Yes, it gives weird effects if you've got a background. But MoCat also, you know, I think you need to redo the end titles, the unicorn titles, because I think they'll be. I much prefer them with MoCat. Anyway, welcome to the show. I'm your host, Chuck Whelan. This is Planet Urf Live with me, your host, Chuck Whelan. MoCat.
Hi.
Hello, MoCat. Dale Sipperley, shining his benevolence down upon us. And Chris Porrow, who's printing some of your lyrics there. Those are all lyrics from your songs. Titles of your songs.
Actually, yeah, it's a title from the song. Those lyrics aren't in there, but I wish they were. I don't know what you guys can see, but I think this picture is hilarious.
It says, hot dogs, damn, one hit me in the face. It came in hot.
Hot. You have
I'm
to say
using hot dogs.
You have to say it like an old Jewish man or woman from New York.
Oh, what?
What?
Raw dog.
What?
Yeah.
That picture isn't Freudian at all.
Yeah. No.
It's just pretty funny.
No.
There's
Not at
nothing
all.
Freudian about this show.
I'm surprised no one's.
I reject Sigmund Freud and all his implications.
Yeah, I think he was wrong about some stuff. I think he looked too hard at things. If you look too hard for too long, you just see whatever you want.
The more you believe it, the truer it becomes.
I'm surprised this hasn't been turned into a meme. This picture. It probably has, but I haven't seen it.
Where did you get that picture?
Off the wild, wild internet.
You just found it. Then it is a meme.
Well, it's a picture. I put the bubble on there, you know.
Okay, you're creating a meme.
Yeah, I'm trying to create a meme. I mean, this is on our Bandcamp page, which has only one song, but this is the image that went up with that first single coming in hot. I thought it was hilarious when I first posted it. It's still pretty good.
Yes. Well, it's fantastic. You're an amazing artist. Amber is an amazing artist.
Oh, I'm just trying to get caught up on pages, and you said it was a draw and talk episode, so I'm
Yes, so we don't have a guest today. I'm sorry to say that's slightly my fault. I said what I. 31st, May 31st. I feel it's a bonus day that's been handed back to us by Mercury as he speeds on his way.
Oh, really?
But I thought we had Steve Troop this week, but then I said Steve Troop next week. But then I think I also had said like May Dean next week. So, but May Dean I haven't heard back from at all yet. So we'll bump her to when she can come. But I'd love to have her on because also I don't know anything about May Dean really. I just know about that meme that I use in the titles.
Yeah. Well, you know, I've learned more about May as a person after her transition than like beforehand. Like we've become closer as friends, and yeah, like you know, beforehand, she was doing her comics over there, I was doing my comics over here, and now it's like you know we share makeup tips. It's weird.
Wait, who is this person? Can I get a little background? What?
So in our title sequence, Chris, there's a bit at the end where it's sort of like it sort of zooms in on a cat's face multiple times. And actually, I sort of I've realised I should have done it differently, in that I should have done all different memes, because this was like May Dean wrote a webcomic about their life back then, and
Well, they still update it.
yes, but it's a humorous sort of joke, everyday life sort of comic. I hadn't read it a lot, but it was good comic stuff. And then they had a terrible incident in their life where their fiance had a miscarriage, I believe. I hope I'm not mischaracterizing it, but so they did this moment in the comic where they sort of like, suddenly it's super dramatic and they're sort of running into the hospital, and like, and it's all silent, and they've got this sort of look on their face, and they're going, and then the final panel is that them in the hospital bed, and it's like all a really sort of traumatic drama that happened in their life that they couldn't sort of not put in the comic, even though it wasn't at all comic. Like, and I've had things like that, but I really bashed them about before I put them in the comic. To a sort of, so it's sort of something else. And I mean, that's almost the whole of Pupil is sort of that. So it's very interesting that, that they just sort of did it. But everybody was like, well, it was pretty popular, I think. And everyone was like, what the hell is this? And then it just sort of became a meme of, just people did all different versions of it, because, because it was sort of so genuine for them, like people couldn't really take it that way. People are normally more guarded in their expectations.
Well, it was kind of like, I know Web Snark talked about this at the time, but what was going on in webcomics was you started out with these lighthearted strips, and then they would get serious, right? And
like Cerebus the Aardvark did this, and I think it's sort of inherent in the form in a way.
Yeah, and then Sluggy Freelance is another example, just talking about webcomics.
Yes.
And, where it starts out as this lighthearted strip, and then as time progresses, it gets more and more serious. And that's basically what happened with May's comic, only it was, kind of instant. It didn't happen over time. It was just like this, suddenly we're talking about this now.
Well, it's not just webcomics. I mean, comics over the decades have done this. I mean, look at what happened to Peanuts. For better or worse, introduced some serious subjects.
What did Peanuts introduce?
Angst.
Angst?
Yeah,
For
Peanuts
those little kids?
Peanuts is about depression, Chris.
What?
Yeah.
Well,
like
damn.
Charlie Brown is basically like he had all his experiences in the war. Yeah, Charlie Brown is like his sort of dealing with, this sort of empty, depressed feeling.
Huh.
Well, Peanuts and Zardoz are pretty much similar stories. Peanuts is all about the evolution of Snoopy and how he becomes the Neo of the Peanuts Matrix.
Chuck?
Yes.
I don't know.
Can you say again, Dale?
I'm saying that Peanuts is a similar story to Zardoz. In Zardoz, the tabernacle, the artificial intelligence, realizes it's a character in a movie and uses two of the Eternals, who are also characters in the movie, to breed Zed to help the tabernacle escape the movie. In the comics Peanuts, Snoopy starts as a puppy and then ends up as this advanced being capable of manifesting physical objects out of nothingness, and starts to actually alter the reality you and I live in.
He's a cartoon character. They all manifest things out of nothing. They have
Okay, you just don't like him because he's a dog.
Pockets.
No,
He has a bottomless pocket.
no. Snoopy started affecting this reality.
Yeah, no, Dale's correct. Dale's correct on all points there. So, yes, Dale. So I don't think I quite ever got it that clearly, but yes, you're correct. Yes. Either that
BoJack.
or you brainwashed me, but I finally think I understand what you're talking about. No, I think I got it. Yes,
gonna
you're quite
stay on
right, and
topic.
it's true. Snoopy,
About
the
BoJack
fictional
Horseman.
character,
Yeah.
the fictional character that's emerged from our imagination. Well, look, they're not the first ones. Like, look at God. They're quite a powerful one, and their son Jesus, who's not quite as good, but in his mother
Santa
Isis
Claus.
or the Virgin Mary.
God was
these different
or
characters.
Jesus
Like
was
Isis
better.
and the Virgin Mary is like Marvel versus DC or something.
But we can learn a lot by. The problem is most people don't read Peanuts from the very start to the very end, and I've read it for decades, and you could see the evolution of Snoopy as the strip goes along.
I find it interesting that the first comic is the only time you ever hear the word hate in the strip. And
Yeah.
it's the very first comic. And he never used the word again in the strip. He thought it was too hard.
But
Yeah,
Charlie
That's
Brown
interesting,
was-
yes.
word.
But we sort of live and learn, don't we? That's sort of like is the starting point in a way. That's where he left.
You know what else?
What?
BoJack Horseman's like that too. It starts off light.
You had to get into BoJack.
Well, but just because it's similar and most people
Yeah.
wouldn't suspect it, like if Peanuts is about depression, in my opinion, BoJack is really about depression. But it starts off as, a humorous adult comic, and you don't kind of realize it's about that struggle in the main character for maybe
No.
the first season.
I didn't really like
BoJack's
until you
about
sort of
a
told me.
lot.
It is
until you
about a
told me
lot.
more about it. I didn't realize that, and it's like because he's sort of at first I didn't quite get him. He was a bit obnoxious. But it was funny. I was like, oh, there's something going on here, but I didn't really stick with it. But then you told me more about it, and then I watched it, and then I thought, yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah, it was really good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was, all the characters are very interesting. It's also about like how BoJack has hurt all these people in his life, right? He's hurt everybody in his life. He ruined Diane's life. Gosh, he ruined Mr. Peanut Butter's life. He's just he's not a good person, and he ends up in jail at the end, and he's still blaming other people. It's just, he's just an interesting character study.
The way it closes at the end, I mean, does he go to jail for that kid that he bought, those kids that he bought alcohol for? Is that?
No, he went to jail for breaking into his old house after he sold it, and then
Really?
having that drunken night and falling in the pool and everything like that. Yeah, it was like they threw the book at him because he was a celebrity that thought he could, get away with all this stuff, and they were making an example of him.
It's interesting. Seinfeld kind of ends that way.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
and people hated the Seinfeld ending, but I loved it. I saw Seinfeld back in the UK quite early. They showed it like BBC Two late at night, and I was like, oh, this is great. And so I was really happy when it got successful, and I sort of missed a lot of those, some of those sort of earlier seasons. So I would always quite enjoy looking at them again. But I loved it. He ended it on a high. He was like, he was doing it, and everyone hated the ending, but the ending was right. They sort of ended back where they started, and he said, "Yeah, they're all horrible people." In case you hadn't realized, in case you were thinking they were like nice people,
right. I mean, it was basically like a reckoning. It was like, okay, get real. Like, let's be realistic about these characters. They're not really good people. But I can understand why people didn't like that.
In the last season, he had one episode got pulled because they had Kramer was stomping on the Puerto Rican flag or something.
Yeah, I actually saw that episode.
Puerto Rican flag and jumping on.
That was like some foreshadowing.
Yeah, that was in the final season though. That was quite near the end. So right near the end, he was getting more and more offended. He was really showing you that more and more that they were terrible. And then he had to go. Then he goes and makes his Curb the Enthusiasm, where basically, he doesn't make any bones about that he's terrible from the beginning.
I never watched it.
I love it. It's good. If you
Enthusiasm?
like Larry David, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, he's a terrible. He does these terrible things. I don't know.
It's what's the word for it when a person's makes a big deal out of trivial stuff? What's that word?
Inflate?
My dad.
No, they're petty.
Yeah,
Yes,
he's
very
very
petty.
petty.
Yes.
Because he's got all the money in the world. He doesn't actually have anything else to do. He can do what he wants. And it's a bit like there was a show they had in England called One Foot in the Grave, which I recommend. That was very funny about this guy Victor Meldrew. He's sort of been forced into early retirement, but his job was a doorman, so he wasn't very. He's got quite a nice wife, and they live in this sort of little suburban close, but quite a little house. And he's just sort of perpetually grumpy and taking revenge on everybody.
Well, so this
and
is
it
a
always
British
sort of comes
show?
back in his face. Yeah, it's a British show. It's very funny though. One Foot in the Grave, and it gets funnier and funnier as it goes on. I don't know how many seasons. There's sort of
that
four seasons, I
description
think.
though, that description fits so many British shows.
Well, actually, the
Like
interesting
half
thing, they
of all
tried
British
to, like, a lot
programming.
of the times they swapped the shows across the Atlantic, and they
Yeah.
did try to do an American version, and you guess what it was? It was this Bill Cosby show after he did the Cosby Show, and he tried to come back and do that show, but he just did it totally wrong, and it was like one episode, I don't know. It was really weird and wrong, and it was like, no, you missed the point there. And he sort of insisted on having his old wife from the Cosby Show as well, so people kept thinking he was the same character, but now he was all grumpy and depressed, and no one could get it.
I remember that show was canceled
It was cancelled
instantly.
It was instantly cancelled, and rightfully so. And you really need to go watch the actual One Foot in the Grave, I'd say, because that's a brilliant show. And you got to think something like Archie Bunker or The Office, where they did it right. Those are British shows where they did it right, and they properly translated it for the American audience.
Yeah.
And those
I
shows,
can't
and they're
believe
equally
they-
funny. And Sanford and Son is another one. In England, there's Steptoe and Son, but they're not black in Steptoe and Son, but they're rag and bone men, and it's a classic. It's really good, very hard. All of these are very hard biting comedies.
I
Very
didn't
funny.
know that. I didn't know Sanford and Son was
one
British.
show
Yeah,
that they
Steptoe and Son.
transferred.
I've got the two movies, Steptoe and Son and Steptoe and Son Ride Again. Steptoe and Son breaks your heart in pieces, but Steptoe and Son is Ride Again is pretty funny. Yeah, it's good. For my funeral, please see Steptoe and Son Ride Again.
One of the British shows that they transferred, or I guess they made American or whatever, was Being Human, which was about vampires, werewolves, and ghosts living together. No one saw the show. It was just me.
Well, I
It's funny.
heard of it, but they tried to translate it to the United States.
Oh,
Yeah,
Rent a
they
Ghost.
did.
Was it Rent a Ghost?
No,
Rent a Ghost.
no.
There was a children's
It was
program
Being
called Rent a
Human.
Ghost, where they were like all ghosts and like things living together.
Well, the show that they kept trying to bring over was Faulty Towers, and it always failed.
What was that about?
About a half
John
hour.
Cleese.
Oh, what? John Cleese failed in America?
No,
What?
no. The British version. Okay, but there's only 2 seasons of Fawlty Towers, 12 episodes. They're very
Right.
tightly written. Also, the BBC, they looked at it. There was a Fawlty Towers rejection letter that John Cleese was circulating the other day. Like they were like, "Oh, this is crap. It's never going to last." I mean, the basic premise of it is not. He's like running a hotel, like the seaside. They tried one with John Larroquette, which again,
Yep.
that could have worked, but it's like it's not that great. It's just it's
What
so
you have
tightly
against
written.
John Larroquette?
I love John Larroquette. John Larroquette's funny. I mean, he's good. I used to like that John Larroquette show where he was in the bus depot. That was quite good.
Yeah. They also tried to bring Red Dwarf over. They made an American pilot for Red Dwarf.
Yeah, they also did an American pilot for Doctor Who too, and that didn't turn out very well.
It was
That's the only one I didn't watch in my
finally
rewatch,
admit
but
that
it's Doctor
it's
Who canon.
canon.
Amber, it's Doctor Who canon. Like that, he's all properly in there now. That Doctor,
Yeah,
they've
he's
done the
officially a Time
transition.
Lord.
They did the transition properly. Yeah, that's canon Doctor Who.
Oh,
Yeah, that was
okay,
Paul Gann.
okay. He's canon now.
Yeah, no, he's canon. He's in. They did like all web episodes to properly integrate him. Like he goes into the Time War. So like when they restarted it, they kept talking about the Time War, and you don't really find out for a long time what the actual Time War was. And then when you do find out, when they start integrating the new stuff with the old, and they say, well, yes, and they did all this stuff with web episodes with Paul McGann, at the beginning, and then during the Time War, he's John Hurt. And that it ends the Time War as John Hurt, and then so when he's starting the next one, he's they haven't. I don't even know if they've connected John Hurt. Actually, I don't know if they fully connected.
I
John
saw the
Hurt.
special where they had John Hurt meet the David Tennant and Matt Smith versions of himself.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
that was wild.
He's one of my
There was
all-time
a
favorite
Paul
actors. I love everything John Hurt
McGann
does.
web episode where Paul McGann metamorphosizes and regenerates into John Hurt. So it's Sylvester McCoy, Paul Gann, John Hurt.
Yes, yes, and John Hurt, fantastic. Most well known for The Elephant Man, which, you know, if you haven't seen The Elephant Man, please.
No, he's most well known for Alien.
Well, okay, most well known, but
I would say
okay,
Alien.
Yes. All right, no,
yeah.
I saw him first in Elephant Man, and Elephant Man broke my heart. And you know, whenever I think how crappy my life is, I just think about The Elephant Man.
Produced by Mel Brooks.
Wait, John Hurt?
Yeah, he was the Elephant Man. Before that, he's also Midnight Express, which was like, that one was very traumatic for me as a kid. He gets thrown in Turkish jail. That taught me not to go smoggling heroin or hashish. I think whatever he had, like blocks.
Yeah, never smuggle heroin.
Kids don't smuggle heroin.
And he was in an Alien, the original 70s.
The alien. He's the guy who has the alien bursts out of his stomach in Alien. Like, he sold that scene. We all, like, nobody questioned that scene because he's so fucking good. You know, he's invisible in a way. He's invisible in that scene, right? He's just like, you know, his job is to be invisible until that thing sort of shocks you, breaking out of him, and then he's got to sell that, you know. And he's fantastic.
Yeah, and you have to understand that, like, he had a puppeteer behind him, handling, you know, with his hand basically in the alien popping out of his stomach, right? Mm-hmm. And he was sitting upright in that kind of central console thing, and then the body that's laying there is a fake body, right? So he was already set up. When they came in, they had no idea what was going to happen. The only thing the script said was the alien emerges. And so they just didn't know what that meant. Was that the alien
they were going to get all
emerges?
splattered. It's pretty obvious, and they're going to get their initial reaction. Yeah.
Yeah.
But remember, John Hurt reprised that role in Spaceballs.
Yes, he did.
Oh, he came back, did it, Spaceballs. That's great. Well, I guess he had a Mel Brooks connection for The Elephant Man. Mel Brooks is like, you owe me a favor.
Yeah, well, I mean, I never thought of it that way, but I guess that makes sense.
This guy. Yeah. Okay, yeah, I recognize this guy now. I brought him up.
Okay, All the Little Creatures. That with him and a young Christian Bale. Like, Christian Bale's a kid who's been sort of abused by his dad. And his dad's a sort of horrible bald banker bastard. And he runs away and he meets John Hurt. John Hurt's this guy who lives out in the pretty remote bit of a beautiful little part of southern English countryside, and he sort of rescues badgers and things that have been run over. And that's an amazing movie. That's another heartbreaker. A very good Christian Bale movie. Very good John Hurt movie. Nobody's ever seen it.
Well, John Hurt.
No one's ever seen it.
John Hurt was in a dramatization of Quentin. God, I'm probably mispronouncing it. Quentin Crisp's life. He was a raconteur, but it was called The Naked Civil Servant.
Oh yes. I thought that was based on Quentin Crisp. Yes.
And,
Quentin Crisp book.
He reprised that character later when Quentin Crisp was living in New York. So he played that person twice.
Yes. That was very popular in England. That was a little, I didn't see that. For whatever reason, that would be, I would like to see that actually. Yes.
But he was really good in that. The Naked Civil Servant, if you can find it.
Yes.
It was about a gay man, and he was a model. At that time, he was an artist model. And this is something that came out in PBS in the late 70s, early 80s. And, you know, when you're a kid, when you hear these words like gay and lesbian, and you like wonder, what the hell is that? And I'm like,
it doesn't really mean anything to you at that age. Yeah. Yes.
I got some bad news, guys.
What's that?
As I was exploring John Hurt's pictures, I found out that he died.
Yes, sadly he did. Yes,
I did not know that.
Yes, that was very sad. But I don't know. I don't know how old. Did it say how old he was?
77.
Wasn't that old?
That's young.
Here's a link to a great picture of him. I think this is the quintessential John Hurt picture.
Oh God, what am I opening? Oh yeah, well that's from Spaceballs.
What?
Yeah.
That's from Alien.
No, that's from Spaceballs.
Yeah, that's
Really?
the version from Spaceballs, not from Alien. Yes.
Ah,
That's
You
what
have
I
to
thought.
remember. You have to remember the people you're talking to on this show.
We're nerds.
I
Wait, can we bring it
forgot.
up? Can we?
There's
can we
no
bring it on
top
the
hat.
screen?
There's no top hat on that Alien, so I think it's
It
from
puts on
Alien.
the top hat.
Yeah,
You don't
Alien.
funny.
realize that it is born with the top hat in its hand. And then it puts on the top hat, and
Yeah.
then it does its song and dance.
How can you tell that's from Spaceballs?
Because I saw Alien as a kid, and that is burned in my mind. And also, he's wearing a yellow jacket. In in Alien, his uniform is white.
Oh, you know what? I'm looking at that photo now where they have him down on the bed and he's got like a white T-shirt on. Yeah.
Yeah,
And he's more like here he's making a funny face. Like in Alien, he's not making a funny face.
there used to be an
in
awesome.
Alien, he's selling he really sells that and he's a little more ragged. He's a little more clean cut in this picture.
There used to be an awesome T-shirt you could buy. It would have the Alien logo, and then below it, it had like a latex little prop of that alien, and then there was like a silk screened blood splatter around it. So you could wear this T-shirt where it's bursting out of your chest.
Nice.
Well, it was in the 70s. I mean, it was before all this professional cosplay. But that movie was amazing. That was it. It
That
wasn't.
movie still is amazing.
It wasn't as popular as Star Wars, but it was super influential.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
it introduced a lot of kids to artists like Ron Cobb and H.R. Giger, Chris Foss, Mobius. They all did production work and design work on that film.
Yeah, one of my favorite movies from, I guess you could say that era, is The Thing. Which is, I want to
John
say,
Carpenter.
yeah, John Carpenter.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I just rewatched that. The
Yeah.
Kurt Russell one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just rewatched that. Yeah, it holds up, man. It's still really creepy.
I like to play a game with myself every time I watch it because I've seen it several times. Every time I watch it, I like to switch back and forth between the perspectives of, oh no, there's this creature that came down and we got to prevent it from getting to warmth, and it's scary and it's taking over and it's scary. And then I also like to look at it from the perspective of a really scared alien creature that's just trying to defend itself. And it all it wants is to get off the planet.
Yeah.
Right. And we're the stupid idiots that are preventing it from doing that.
Well, okay, but it's not being very friendly to the local life forms. It's not saying, hi, can you help me?
But again, watch from the perspective from the alien and you'll go, oh, this is an interesting way to watch the movie.
Okay,
right?
all right, I will do. All right, you give me a reason to watch it again. All right,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, that's good.
But then at the end, doesn't it try to infect the whole human race and take over the world?
No, at the end, you have Keith David and you have Kurt Russell that are both coming up on each other. One of them has breath coming out of his mouth. The other one doesn't. One of them's drinking. The other one isn't. And you don't know which one's the alien. That's the end. The whole place is blowed up. You know that they're going to die.
Yeah, it's a kind of Shining type of end where I think they cut to the morning and they're frozen.
Well,
no, there's no cut to the morning. It just fades to black.
I thought they're not
Then
frozen?
with some John Carpenter synth music.
I didn't realize he wrote so much music.
Yeah.
I love that. That's what I love about his movies most. Actually, is his music.
I had a freelance gig where they wanted me to cop the theme from Halloween.
Yeah.
Because they were doing a porn movie and it was Halloween themed, So I had to go back. So I had to go back and listen to that theme song from Halloween and do something in the vein of roughly, without like straight up copying it. And that's where I learned like John Carpenter is a musician.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was
Yeah.
impressed.
Yeah, I mean, he did that Halloween soundtrack. I mean, I think all his movies he does the soundtrack, and they're all like it's simple but effective.
Yeah, that's a weird song. I don't think it's in like the regular time you'd expect something to be in. Almost all American music's in 4/4.
Yeah.
And I think this is in something like maybe 5/4 or something. It's something weird.
Yeah. Okay. Yes,
And-
he's doing something like that, isn't he?
And I didn't even notice. You don't notice this until you try to like you study it. But then I was like, oh wow, this is not in standard timing.
Well,
Oh,
one thing that's interesting about it too is that when he made Halloween, all right, he edits the movie, he puts it all together and everything, and then about a week before delivery, he realized it didn't have music. So he did that entire soundtrack for Halloween and that dun, 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 kind of sound
Yeah.
In a week, and then he delivered it.
Yes. Wow. Yes. Great.
Good under pressure.
Yes, I'm having profound thoughts here. All right. So where to begin? Keeping things on the square, the Masons, 4x4 time, musical notation. My Uncle Bill. I've told you a bit about Uncle Bill, who managed the band
Uncle Bill.
Badfinger, or he discovered them, and then they got ripped off by the management that he signed with in the US. And this guy Stan Polly stole all their money. But Bill had learned to play the piano in the Liverpool shipyards. Like, he was a real salt of the earth character. He was like a little guy. He had this sort of snowy white hair.
Ship as in
Shipyards,
boatyards?
as in
Okay,
boatyards of Liverpool.
I misheard that.
Well, I mean, there was a shithole. I don't know what he was doing there, shoveling shit. I mean, they're building ships in Liverpool. Like, he was a proper guy. And as a young person, he learned to play the piano by ear in the pubs of Liverpool. And, he was sort of friends with all, like, Paul McCartney's brother all his life, actually. And, so probably when you see those pictures of the Beatles sort of jamming out on the street and there's sort of, like, kids around, like, Bill's probably, like, one of those. And Badfinger were the first band that was signed by the Beatles to Apple Records. And Paul McCartney wrote them a hit. They did the soundtrack for Ringo Starr's movie, The Magic Christian, with Ringo Starr and Peter Sellers. Very weird one. John Cleese, all people in that. But, and yes, and but Bill was he's a sort of smart guy, but a salt of the earth like guy, and I guess they just got badly ripped off with that whole situation.
Yeah, I think one of the members of the band killed himself.
Well, actually, two of them did, and it was really very tragic. And you know what? It was really tragic because they would have come back, and they still, like, in the end were making royalties, and their heirs sort of get the royalties and stuff like that. Like they had, like, there was someone like Mariah Carey did one of their songs, and then some money started coming in again, and then suddenly things were different. But that was like years later, but Bill got very discouraged. But he had this whole thing about music though, because he'd learned to play by ear, and he didn't think he was always cursing like musical notation, saying it was invented by monks in the Middle Ages. And that, he was working with computers. Like, so I remember, like, as a kid, sort of say about 10 years old, like 1980 sort of time, he'd come around and be talking to my dad about, like, his project that he was working on, which was about teaching music by computers. But it was like, really, nobody understood computers, at least all my dad. And my dad's like kind of embarrassed and sort of looking at his glasses and examining Bill. And Bill's like wanting to sort of tell him all about it, but won't tell him anything. Because he's sort of super paranoid about copyrights and people stealing your ideas. I'd find that all very funny. But, he was very serious. And then later when I lived here in the 90s, like in the late 90s, he came over, and they were talking to some tech people about, and he was sort of still doing this project, through his life. But yeah, so I don't know. So yes, there's something about sort of 4/4 time, that's like the Masons in America, keeping everything on the square, the grid, have everything in the grid.
Yeah.
But, these people that play by ear, they're playing with the vortex. They don't know quite. That it's a different zone. Yes, you're in the zone.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 4/4 is basically the time of popular music. 3/4 is probably the second most common time in this country. or in the world. There's all kinds of meters, but just about all the pop is written in 4/4. It's a very natural meter, you know.
Chris,
But I
is that meter related to anything in the body, like the pulse, or?
I think it probably is. I think a lot of these things actually come out of nature. Like if you look at the major scale, there's a really good argument for the major scale coming out of nature. It's just physics, basically. It's the way things naturally vibrate. Like if you pluck a string goes through all these different patterns, and those are overtones, and that's where the major scale is actually derived. But 4/4 time, yeah, I think it does tie into our bodies or nature in general. Maybe something about the heartbeat. I don't know.
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Joseph Campbell would be I saw an amazing thing where he talked about like how it all comes back to the rhythm of the human heart. I never saw that one again, but I was like, oh, that was very interesting. Because yes,
I mean that's like
the human heart. We're expressing like all sounds that we make with our voice. That's vibrating the air. And it starts with like a scream or something like that. I mean, all sounds are in a way they're like screams.
All sounds are like screams in a way.
Yes.
I want that on a T-shirt. All sounds are like screams.
All sounds are like screams.
Well, I was reading about
how can you elevate your emotion, I suppose.
I was reading about very silent rooms where they'll have experimental rooms, these laboratories, which are just covered in these foam pyramids.
Yeah, amniotic chambers.
Yeah, people can't handle it.
Yeah, because you start hearing the stuff that your mind has been blocking out for years. So we do hear our heartbeat. We just don't pay any attention to it.
Yeah, I saw this YouTube video, and this guy was saying like no one's ever stayed in this chamber for longer than like a half hour, which was bullshit, and he reveals that at the end. But he goes in there and he says they leave him there, and he stays in for like an hour, and what happens is he starts to hear like his joints move and his heart and all this stuff that you normally is background noise, because normally there's a noise floor. You're always hearing something, and so these sounds are very quiet. But if you get rid of all the background noise, you can hear them, and it sounds a little creepy. Like hear yourself digesting food and your heart beating. And
well, you could do that while you're listening to the show.
Oh shit! My screen just went off. Yeah, if you guys are really quiet, not this show.
Yeah, people don't have enough time already to listen to the show, so stop suggesting activities other than listening. They can do that activity while they're listening to the show.
Get in that chamber. Listen to
the show in isolation.
Your duodenum breakdown.
I actually went into. Do you guys remember an old movie called Altered States with John Hurt?
Oh yes, that was a good one.
Okay, so
that's some good effects.
For years, I wanted to go into a sensory deprivation chamber. And I was down in...
Yeah, you saw that, and your takeaway was, I want to go.
Yeah, well, I wanted to try it. I wanted to see if I would evolve into some higher dimensional being.
Higher dimensional being.
Run down the street.
I think it worked.
Keep the neighbors on their toes.
So like some Neanderthal, didn't he regress to being a caveman? He's like a higher dimensional caveman.
So I found a place in this artist colony down in SoCal that was renting time in those tanks, and they actually have them up here in the Bay Area now. They're called float centers. And it's a soundproof box filled with body temperature water, loaded with Epsom salts, and there's no light inside. So they have you shower off, you go in, you're floating there, and there's no sensory input. And, it's for meditation and spiritual growth, and it is one of the most uncomfortable things I've ever done.
Really?
Yeah, because
you didn't like the body temperature water?
Well, first of all, that level of heat to get it to your body temperature meant that the inside of the box was as humid as a swamp. And then without any light or sound, I realized how noisy the inside of my head was. So
Yeah.
it was a half hour of just listening to all this noise in my
You
head.
realize what meditation is it's getting rid of that noise.
Yeah. The noise didn't want to go away. So
That's why meditation's hard.
I talked to the guy afterwards, and he says, "Yeah, that's not an uncommon experience if you do that. You got to do it a few more times before it gets good." And I said, "That's okay."
You can hallucinate in there, if you do it long enough.
Well, I had audio hallucinations. It wouldn't shut up.
Well, my
you
acupuncture
did?
treatments were like that for many years. Yeah, like you put you into like weird setup with springs and weights and stuff, and then stick needles in you, and then leave you in a sort of trance-like state. And it's good. That helped me a lot.
Well,
I just want to say, Chuck, that sounds gruesome. They just stab you full of needles and walk away.
Chuck, I think I went to your did I go to your acupuncturist or a recommendation from you in Japantown?
Oh no, he's not in Japantown. No, he's actually nearer to you. He's on Eugenia Avenue, which is up near Cortland, up from Mission, just a couple of blocks down from Cortland. One of the blocks down from Cortland.
Because I did try acupuncture for like a few months until I ran out of money.
Well, yeah, okay, so yes, it is like, okay, are you got to find someone that you trust and believe in for yourself. I think it's very helpful. There's different things, and what's right for you. So I'd say, I mean, my guy, I did some research. He seemed like the real deal. I really like, he seemed like what I was looking for. I really, I like his everything he has to say. Really, his philosophy. We have a good time, and I always get on with him very well.
I liked my guy too.
Yeah.
I just wasn't getting any. I mean, I actually liked it. It was very relaxing. It was like getting a massage. And I liked my guy. He was a really nice guy. It was a good atmosphere. I always felt great when I was like on the table, but it's expensive.
It's expensive. Yes. It adds up. He did me a deal. Like, I don't know, because I'm regular, and I've been going for years and years and years, and I don't know. It's expensive, but it's sort of worth it. It's not ridiculously expensive, so I don't know. I mean, it just depends, but it's it adds up, and and if you're doing it week after week. So people do it for sort of usually a course, but it's different. I had something that's sort of chronic, and that I really needed a lot of help with, and it really did help me.
Yeah.
I found the results temporary, but the best part was
you have to maintain it yourself. You have to keep going and working yourself. Yes, you can't. It doesn't really come from outside ever. It only ever comes from inside.
That's what they say. You got to keep going. It'll work
eventually. But you can do. Once you learn it, you can do it yourself. You don't need to do it, but you still have to work. So like for them, like you can pay someone else to do it for you, which is what that is, or you can do it yourself.
What do you mean? Like I can't stick needles in my back?
Well, that's that's like lazy exercise. The other result is you get up and you do your exercises for an hour every day.
Oh, I didn't have any of that.
Yeah, you gotta do the Tai Chi. You gotta do the yoga.
You got to, you sort of get the like you get there. And it depends how serious you are about it, but really, I mean, that's the only solution in the end of the day is diet and exercise.
I did Bikram. Does that count? That's like having a Nazi make you do uncomfortable things in a super hot room.
Yes, yeah.
Super
I mean,
relaxing.
It's whatever you like. Yes. I mean, if you like to get hot and sweaty, and stretch yourself. Oh my god! Talking of stretch yourself, I went out to see Teresa, a friend of the show, Teresa Moore, and her band, or the two bands that she's in. They were playing at Tequila Mockingbird on 2nd Street. And
I just have to pause and say that's an excellent name for a bar. Continue.
Yes, it was an excellent bar, a nice place, and they had them playing. And so her first band she's in, so she's playing the bass with this guy Roxy Luca Brazzi, or Roxy Roller as he's known, who's like quite a crazy character. But they're doing like Nick Cave cover band. Which were pretty awesome, but and then they're playing also the guitar in that band is Hernan Pena, and Hernan's band is the next band, which is Japanese Baby, where he comes out like Edward Scissorhands. He's like Latino, Hispanic, but sort of quite dark complexion. He puts on like white makeup on his face, and he's wearing like a white, so he's like a sort of white suited Edward Scissorhands. But Hernan's really good, actually. I'm really, I've got his song "War." It's going to be on the Urfspace album. They were doing really great. And then Teresa said, "Oh, I don't know if I'm going to do some dancing." She's wearing like a really sort of sexy outfit. She's really skinny and tiny. And she said, "I think about." I was like, "Okay, I'll do some dancing." I said, "Okay, you encourage me." And then she starts like doing this sort of. Okay, first of all, she takes off the sort of slip thing she's wearing. She's just got like tape over her chest. She's doing this totally bendy dance, like all over the place.
I don't know where the story's going, but I'm interested.
She's super bendy. She's super bendy.
Was this part of the stage show?
Well, it wasn't even on the stage. It was just like on the floor in the bar. And she's like
bendy.
going out in the street and like, getting everybody going.
Wait. What kind of tape?
Like black tape.
Like electrical tape?
Like 2 X's?
But it was more like, it wasn't just clean X's. They were more like sort of patches.
Ampersands?
Yeah.
Chuck, have I seen this band before?
I hadn't seen either of them. I definitely will go see either of them again. And she says they do these shows every week called the Up Above the Haight-Ashbury Free Clinic, which is where Roxy lives, apparently. So that's all. Like, anyway, it was a really fun show. It was really good, and she was very amazing. She's super bendy.
She's bendy.
Yeah, she was like, I was like, she's like, I don't know if she's stretched. She said, I said, well, make sure you do some warm up stretches. So she sort of puts her leg up on the bar and starts doing this. She was great. It was fantastic. Yeah. So her and Anne is very talented. And then Dave Jurgens on the drums, who's his band is the Angry Tunes, and I'm having a song of theirs. That's what I wanted to get out, because they were all there playing at that show. So I wanted to sort of go and say hello to everybody. It was good times, Chris. You should have come next time. I was thinking about dragging you out, but I thought,
what I did instead?
But then I ended up staying all the time. Yeah,
I sat at the computer, drank, and went to sleep.
I should have dragged you. I had a feeling if I called you right before, you'd probably come.
No, dude, I just nah. I mean, I'm basically canceling everything right now. I mean, I have a 50th birthday that I have to go to up in Napa, and really, that's the only thing I've said yes to. Even that, I was like thinking, oh shit, should I get out of this? But
well, if you're going up to Napa, take a little time and stop at the Shoals Museum in Santa Rosa.
The Shoals Museum in Santa Rosa. I went to Santa Rosa a few times over the last few years, because it's kind of on the way up to my. Well, no, it's not really. It's really like out of the way, but I've got some land up there. I didn't know that.
You should go to the Peanuts Museum. The Shoals Museum in Santa Rosa is worth a stop, and if you're into toys and comics, there's an amazing place downtown called the Bat Cave, and you'll just geek out on the toys, because it's like a number of these shops now that are geared to adults our age. It's they sell old toys, the toys that we grew up with.
Oh, like Stretch Armstrong and the Hulk.
Yeah. You have no idea how expensive a Micronauts set can be when you go.
I can only imagine how much the stuff from my childhood would cost now.
Yeah.
If it's not completely trashed, if it's not yard sale quality, it's probably super pricey.
But there's also a vinyl shop in Santa Rosa too.
I do have a turntable. Like I told you guys, like I sold mine in 2000 because no one was going to play records ever after that. And we had 2 turntables, like me and my wife, and we're both like, we just should sell these. No one's ever going to use them again. Only to rebuy them like 15 years later. But so now I have I think I have 1 crate of vinyl and a really pretty nice turntable that I basically stopped using after the first year. But I think I'm going to keep this one. It's built like a tank. But I don't actually buy a lot of vinyl.
I should. It's nerdy enough that I should get back into it. It's just I don't want another piece of equipment.
Yeah, I'm trying to downsize. When about 4 years ago, I tried to get rid of like half of my stuff. I said, here's where I'm going to start. I'm going to get rid of half of my stuff. That's my starting point. And I think I got pretty close to that. I mean, I'm doing way better than like my mom, for example. But yeah, I'm just trying to whittle it down to the essentials.
Well, I did the Marie Kondo method, and I liked it. People keep knocking Marie Kondo, but they haven't done her method, and I did her method, and I thought
They
it
keep
was very
knocking her.
good.
What do they say?
Well, I don't know. I mean, her method's quite simple. She sort of says she's got a process. You like, and you start with clothes, and because we're sort of used to clothes are sort of easy. And what you do is you get all of the clothes from all over the house, all yours. Don't worry about your family members if you have them, because they will learn.
So you should throw out your ex-wife's clothes.
No, but if you have them, just put them all in a big pile, and then you can easily see when you have everything you own all together of that category, clothes. You can easily see which ones you want to keep and which ones you don't want to keep, and you activate them by sort of getting them out of where they normally are. So it's a bit of a process, and it's a bit of work. And then she says, the next category to do is. I can't remember. She's got a sort of a process. She's like books. She's like, oh, you don't need many books, but a similar sort of thing. She says, get them all off the shelves, and then you really see which ones you actually want to keep. And it activates them. And she's got there's sort of more detailed things. The papers and documents. She's almost like, you don't need any of them. They can all go. Okay, you can keep a little folder with like your passport and your birth certificate or something. But all the others, you can say thank you for the information and put it in the shredder.
I don't know if the
like
IRS
old course materials. She says, get rid of them. You don't need them. You're never going to look at them again. And then there's a special category that you save for the end, and that's mementos. And so mementos, like if anything's got a special thing, let's save that for the last category. Maybe you don't even really get to that, and a lot of things sort of go into that category. But once you've done the other categories, it's easier to look at all mementos, and you put all things there. It's easier to decide which things are mementos. So you sort of start with the easiest things, but it sort of go by categories. She's got a sort of set method, but none of it's like particularly prescriptive. It's all just like it's more about understanding that there's a flow of things, and things come in and they go. And when you're not using it anymore, you can say thank you for your service, goodbye.
Yeah, She had this catchphrase, these items in your home should spark joy.
Yeah,
Marie is completely full of shit.
Your home is full of things that spark joy in your life, like bits of Sergio Aragone's art and whatever. Sergio Aragones, that's just something he was just like testing his pen out on. Dale's like, oh, treasure.
I've seen Sergio Aragone's office. And it is an amazing motley and mess of artifacts. What ended up with Marie Kondo was a lot of people did follow that, but then they regretted it because
they didn't, Dale. They didn't. I heard a lot of people saying in the pandemic, oh, I bet you're regretting that you did Marie Kondo now. Not at all. I did it. I knew. The pandemic came along. I got on my art boards. I said, I'm going to draw because Marie Kondo knew that I wanted to keep. I kept these things so that I didn't have to go through all my stuff. Now, pandemic would have been a great time to do your Marie Kondoing, but because I had already done it, I was immediately, when I had some free time, I knew what to get on with.
Dude, you didn't Marie Kondo. You have a house in San Francisco. It just ended up that way. Trust me, you're not Marie Kondo.
What are you guys talking about?
I'm an advocate of the Marie Kondo, having done the Marie Kondo method. I read her book. All of the book, done the whole process, almost all the whole, because you never really get to mementos, I think, but I think that's sort of key to it. But having done it, I understood it, and I'm an advocate, and Dale's being a Marie Kondo naysayer, saying, oh, she's got this catchphrase, and everybody said this, and everybody did that. Those are people that didn't actually do it.
What are you guys talking about?
Do you understand Marie Kondo? She's like the one, like, tidy your home, just keep the things that spark joy. But that's like everybody saying,
she just recently said, she's not doing that anymore because she's got kids.
No, she doesn't have to because and if you actually read her and followed her, that makes perfect sense.
Yeah, she did that to make money.
No,
I think
she's a good person who's trying to help.
What I think
is
she honestly believe this. Hey, guys! I haven't been on the show for a little bit because I had to go parent, right? But I think that she believed this, right, about the clean up your life and minimalism and everything like that. And there's no sentimentality, right? But when she had kids, she realized that you do have to hold on to some things for the sentiment of them, for the memory.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, it's not about that at all. Actually, that's a complete what it is. It's about understanding the flow of objects that come and go into your life. She's like throughout the book, she says you can't tidy up for your family. All right, they have to tidy up for themselves. So she has to like understand that she's got to live in a less tidy environment, like with her kids and stuff, because they have their own things. So she can sort of teach them to be tidy, but that's what you have to do. You have to teach them to be tidy for themselves. You can't tidy for them, otherwise they'll never learn to be tidy. So she has to absolutely understand, but she can still be sort of tidy for herself. But it like her super like her super detail stuff, like the way the folding socks. Okay, that's like the icing on the cake. That's if you've got a lot of spare time, you can be doing all this sort of super icing on the cake. But the broad flow of understanding, this thing comes in, it's done its time. It said I can say goodbye to it. This is this category, this is that category. My house is organized by category. I know where things are because that category is there. I understand the flow of objects through my house. I understand what's a memento. A mementos go to the end. You say, okay, this is a memento. You put it in memento category. A memento category may be quite large, but when you've understood with the other categories, and also when your drawers are getting full, that means it's time to do your clothes. You're not like, you can fold it, will help a bit, but she said like you've got the right amount of space in your drawers. You just need to sort of get everything out and really sort of see, well, what's it time to say goodbye to.
I'm a firm believer in the Bauhaus philosophy of function over form. And it talks about clean lines, and you can still have stuff. You just put it in boxes, right? And the
she's
boxes
a bit against
look
boxes because they're sort of getting boxes. It's sort of forgotten about.
But sometimes you need to have stuff that you don't want to look at every day.
No,
like
that's
art
true.
Supplies.
Yeah, that's
right?
true. Yes, yes.
And so Bauhaus philosophy is that, stuff that that you need, like tools, art supplies, cooking utensils or spices, or, something that you are going to have a collection of, just put it in a box. And then that's the spice box, or that's the tea box. So you're not looking at a bunch of little bags of tea. You're looking at one box that says tea.
Yeah, and when that box is full, then then it's time to get rid of something.
I'm not saying that that's not the case. I'm just saying that you can still hold on to things without
Yes, but it's the point of holding on to things past their usefulness to you.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose so. I don't know. I think that every self-help book has something to be taken out of it.
Yeah. Well, the other thing about it is it's like clutter. It's like plaque on your teeth. You have to sort of brush your teeth, or the plaque builds up. Or if you have a bit of clutter somewhere, it attracts more clutter. So it's really a way of sort of clutter. If you've got clutter and you're having a problem with clutter, then I just suggest you read the book and do the system, and not just like do the 5-minute version or watch the TV show and think you know it all, because it's not. It's a bit more to it than that.
It was a way for her to make money. And when you're young... Okay.
We're in America. We're supposed to make money.
When you're
He's
young...
He's got you there, Dale.
Shut up. When you're young and you're a renter, you want to be a minimalist because it costs money to move all of your possessions from one rental to another.
On that note, Ian made me get rid of like a good portion of my books that I still regret getting rid of. He made me get rid of books like my philosophy books. So I had,
old course materials out.
Well, my philosophy books, like, I had Marx in there. I had Hegel. I had Nietzsche and Descartes and Sartre and, all the arts. I had Plato. I had, Aristotle. I mean, I had it was good. I had Socrates in there, and it was a good collection. I had probably about 20 books of
you read all that?
Yes, I did.
That's pretty good. I'd like to read all those books. That's good.
Well, to be fair, it was course study. When I went to junior college, I was very lucky to have I don't remember his first name, but Donovan was his last name. And my professor Donovan, he was like, you got to read these, right? And he had a reading list. And so what I did is I bought all the books for the reading list. And for the class, we pulled out bits and pieces and stuff, but I wanted to know what was there. So probably it took me about 3 or 4 years to read them all. Yeah. And so it's very thick for some of the stuff. Nietzsche and Marx particularly are very, very thick language. And it's like, okay, I have to delve into this.
The thing is, when you get older, and if you can afford to buy a home, then your relationship to objects is different. Because I know people who own homes and they have a great deal of collectibles or clutter, or they have possessions because they're nesting. And the other thing about physical possessions, and this is something that I learned from Norman Rockwell, the famous Saturday Evening Post cover illustrator. He wrote an autobiography, My Adventures as an Illustrator, and he had a model that he visited. So he would have live models come in and pose for him early in his career. And one of his models, he visited where this model this model lived. And the model had all these little objects under glass domes. And he used those as memories. So he would have like a piece of popcorn from some date he had with his dead wife, or he would have a ticket stub from some show that he saw years ago.
That's kind of macabre.
Physical objects have a non-physical presence, and they can be used as keys of memory. Or you may have a physical object that you bought to achieve some goal, and you're hanging on to it because you don't want to admit that you haven't achieved that goal.
Yeah, they're all like
is that why my mom had an exercise machine in our house growing up that she never used, that my dad called a sculpture?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, my wife's trying to get rid of a running machine. If anyone needs a $2,000 running machine that's only been used once, well, she bought Eric bought it. It was very important that he had.
I had friends who worked for Computerware who had their own museum of old Macintosh computers. They served no purpose, but they were part of that person's personal history.
Peter has all his old cell phones, like every single iPhone that he's.
Possessions. Marie Kondo would talk about, you just get rid of these possessions and not really talk about this non-physical ghost that haunts all these possessions. You pick up something. People who have problems with clutter, you pick up something and they can tell you the whole history of that object and why it's important.
All physical objects are like Horcruxes. Like in the Shintoism, you have this sort of idea of objects having their own souls, but you imbue a bit of your own soul into it as well. Like, I mean, if they have soul, I mean, whether it comes from externally or internally. Yeah. But it's very profound what you're saying there, Dale. There's definitely some truth, and clutter though. That's the thing. It's unmindfulness. It's like there was a woman very interesting speaking on the radio this week or last week about she was talking about the myths of overweight and it's a sort of very complicated issue. So I don't want to put it in those terms, but just in terms of like you're like you need to sort of exercise your body and move your body. Movement, you've got to understand the movement and flow is important for good health.
Well, a lot of people who aren't healthy don't move. They don't move their body.
I think in 50 years they're going to look at this very differently. I mean, just in my lifetime, the understanding of like weight, like being overweight, underweight, that type of stuff has been a lot better understood. Like for example, why is it that some people constantly diet, constantly work out, and have weight problems their whole life?
Well, it's because of how. because there's sort of been put a lot of pressure to it, and not really understanding that some people might be, their bodies might be more comfortable at that size. But you have to really look at, like, what are the facts and what are the myths. But it's definitely, it's important to exercise. But if you're sort of putting it all in terms of like, oh, I have to lose weight to fit a certain body image, that's not what it's about. It's about
It's funny
keeping
that you
moving and
guys are
keeping
saying
healthy.
this, because as the only woman on the show and stuff like that, let's talk about body image.
Yeah, okay.
And it's constantly been talked about Photoshop bodies in magazines and ads and everything, and saying you need to be super skinny and stuff like that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've had body image issues since I've been a kid about that. And it's really only been in the last 8 years or so that I've been able to kind of look at myself and say, well, I'm not as bad as in my head, right? Because in my head, I'm the fat 13-year-old that got stuck in the seat at Knott's Berry Farm, right? And when I grew up and I grew out of that and I exercised and stuff like that, at my lowest, I was 110 pounds when I was acting in Hollywood. I say my lowest in adulthood.
Yeah, that's
and
tiny.
then and then the second lowest that I've been, when Ian and I first got together, I got to about 115. And that was me healthy, maintaining. I'm only 5'3", so I'm short.
Yeah, you were quite short.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, you're,
Oh, okay.
yes.
Yeah. So it's not
that's my
like
mom's height.
yeah, it's not like
Yeah.
I'm like, anorexic or anything. I'm eating. But yeah, like body image issues suck for girls. And I'm sure guys go through the same thing about not being muscular enough or not being manly enough or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Or
just want Brad Pitt's body.
Obviously I've had a lot of body issues. I know I'm like reasonably lucky in some regards, and then.
Well, yeah, I suppose with your disability, there's times when, it would be very easy for you to be resentful of people who don't have your troubles ahead of them,
I just have it a little earlier maybe than a lot of people. Everyone's going to have it. I don't know if I'm going to get very tired of hearing it as everybody gets older.
Yeah, I suppose that's true. You're like, I've already done
And
that.
I've been dealing with that since I was 20.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at the age now that I was actually talking to I'm not going to name drop, but this is kind of a legend in the Bay Area comic book scene. But
Anthony,
we're the age where we just immediately start talking about our health problems.
Yes,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
what old people do. The first thing they do when they see each other, they talk about their health problems for a bit, but then you can move on to other issues.
I was
So
going to
yeah,
say,
I mean, our health is part of the show, though. I
Yeah,
think,
after a certain age, male bonding consists of comparing health issues. If you have both had kidney stones, you are blood brothers.
I want to get
Yeah,
to
I
that,
haven't had that.
where we just talk about, which ones of our friends have died, where that's the start of the conversation. Did you hear?
Oh yeah.
Oh,
That's
who
my
died?
parents.
Our age?
Yeah.
They died.
Oh yeah, I know. Tina,
that's around like 70. I
This
think.
is what I remember from my mum. At this point, it's just like, yes, one grisly story after another about how all horrible things happen to all her friends.
That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Oh, joy.
I was gonna say with bodies, it's like, I feel like when I was younger, I wanted to have like a nice gym body, and now I'm kind of like, I just want it to be healthy. Like, I'll take a lot of things that were unacceptable when I was like in my 20s just to get a healthy version of that. Like I'd much rather be like skinny and healthy, or fat and healthy, or short and healthy, than like
Yeah.
gym body with chronic problems. Like my priorities have changed.
Well, the alternative to all of this is to have a lot of money. So there's an equation balance between
Then you can pay someone.
attractiveness
Yeah.
and money.
You can pay someone to exercise for you. Like that's like, again, when my acupuncturist, he said, I'm like lazy exercise.
Yeah.
You can
That's
do it.
my
So you can go and like
physical
have
therapy.
someone, they can bend you and stretch you while you just lay there, and that sort of that doesn't.
You can.
Do you guys ever watch Always Sunny in Philadelphia?
No.
Oh yes, that's very popular with the younger generation.
I watched
too.
a little clip show of it.
So
Yeah.
So the actor that plays Mac, who's the creator of the show, he did something very interesting. Is he did this for the show? First, he gained a bunch of weight.
Oh yeah.
Right. So the character had gained weight and had to deal with his own weight issues. Right. Then he got in super good shape. And I mean, I'm talking like a 6-pack and, you know,
Steroids
like Marvel
and...
body shape, right? And again, he did this for the character where the other characters didn't even notice that his whole body changed.
They're all
right?
such terrible characters. Talk about so terrible characters.
Exactly. But, you know, the actor, you know, the creator, the writer, the person who is not this character was talking about it in for Men's Health interview. And they're saying, "Man, how'd you get into shape?" And he says, "Well, let me tell you, it's easy. Anyone can do this. You first of all, you got to have a personal trainer that's going to cost $600 a week. Second of all, you got to have a nutritionist that's going to be making you all of your food, and this person's going to cost about $1,000 a week. And then you got to have this person. And then you got to have this person, right?" And he basically said, once you have this entourage of people, then you can lose weight. The way I did.
He left out the most important thing there.
Oh, what's that?
Steroids. Because when these Hollywood types like transform their bodies, I'm like,
No, he goes into that and he says, then you got to take steroids, then you got to do this, then you got to, you know, he didn't shy away from the fact that it was not a transformation that just anyone can make overnight. And Men's Health kind of prey on guys who think that they can get stuff like that transformation overnight. And they always have, you know, like headlines like, you know, transform overnight. And it's like, no, that's not going to happen.
Yeah. You know, it's a brilliant show. It's another one like South Park that, you know, that I'll watch it I haven't seen it in a while. I find it really hilarious, and I'll watch it for a while, and then after a while, I'll be like, "Oh, it's too depressing," because they don't really pull their punches, and they're relentlessly bleak.
It's good once a week, not to binge.
Yeah,
you know,
like if you binge it, it's
like
even once a week though. After a bit, I'm just like, "Oh, I can't take it anymore." But if I haven't seen it in a while, it's absolutely hilarious for a while.
Did you watch that reboot of Battlestar Galactica?
Kind of. I watched like the first season, and then I was like, and I didn't see the rest.
I was too, but I came in the middle because my brother-in-law loved it, and then I really liked it. It was good when it had some really great moments. Anyway,
Who was the actress who played Starbuck?
She's Katie Sackhoff.
Okay, Katie Sackhoff. You can find this on YouTube. Has a fascinating video where she talks about how she uses a trainer to shape her body for different roles. So if there's a role where she will be more feminine, she will have a less pronounced surface muscular definition.
That's interesting.
And then if she has something more athletic or warrior-like, or like a police officer. And there's the interesting thing was that there was a trainer that she works with who specializes.
Totally off topic. This is my favorite balloon I've done so far in Captain T.
Okay, I like how you're using warm colors to make it pop against the cold background.
I know color theory. But yes, I just thought I'd share T's vision of himself, super rich, and you know,
Happy.
And he's basically saying you get half now, you get half later. But this is the balloon in between of the half now, half later.
Amber, have you read James Gurney's book on color for the realist painter?
I've read a lot of books on color. I don't know if I've read that one.
Read that one. That's
okay.
That's the best one. I've read the Munsell crap, and well, I shouldn't say crap, but I had to do Munsell color theory, but the Gurney book really should be in a must for schools. because it
Well,
talks about gamut mapping.
yeah, most of my I don't know much about gamut mapping. Most of my color theory came from Ellen Pendleton, who is now Ellen Thomas, and she was my junior college professor for painting. And so she's like, "Here, this is how you do color theory," you know? And I mean, not like with a cigarette hanging out of her mouth. She would go on breaks and have the cigarette. But yeah, it was, that's where I learned color theory. It was from her. So, yeah.
But the Katie Stackoff video, the thing is, she is a trainer who specializes in training people so how their bodies look on film and television. It isn't for health, and it's not for function. It's for appearance on film and TV.
I mean,
Yeah.
that
It's a
reminds
good job
me
if
of
you can get it.
wine glasses. You know, all those wine glasses that like direct the wine scent to your nose in different ways.
Yeah.
And then I just call bullshit on it real hard.
I know. I mean, I don't want any kids watching this show to think I can go to college and get that job.
No,
Speaking of-
glasses matter. I was part of a craft beer group, and the glasses actually matter.
Dale, I
Uh-huh.
expected you to jump right on the bullshit bandwagon with me with that. You're going in an unexpected direction.
No,
You
it's
should be
real.
saying bullshit right now.
No, it's real. Different glasses improve your experience with different beers.
I thought I knew you, Dale.
Okay. No, I am 100% convinced that that's true.
Have you heard the wine glass thing where they're like, this is the glass that you have to buy for white wines. Here's the one for rosés. Here's the one for reds. And it directs the scent
Yeah.
of a red better to your nose because it's a red glass. I'm like, I'm not buying 5 glasses, bruh. So, I mean, save it for the next guy.
No,
I have one wine glass.
Yeah,
Wine
no.
glass shaped.
Yeah, this is like my friend. I got a friend who from a guy from my school days. He's quite well off. He's got a friend who's like really, really well off, and you know he like went straight into sort of New York banking, like right out of Oxford, and you know making tons of money. And you know this is the sort of thing he'd have to have is like a different glass for every single drink that you could have. I mean, because at some point you just don't even know what to spend your money on. I mean.
Yeah, I mean, that's where I am with that. It's like, does a salad taste different if you use a salad fork?
yes.
I think it
Yeah.
tastes like a salad, no matter what. Like,
Yeah.
you know what helps you smell wine better? Having wine under your nose. However you can accomplish that.
You know, it's a game you can't win. There's like somebody out there. You know, it's a silly game. Hey, look, if that's what makes you happy,
What's
then do it.
There's a word for this when people buy something and they're invested in it and they don't want to admit that they got taken. It's like when you
yes.
spend like 30,000 on a car. And-
oh yeah, I learned at business school
sunk
that all
cost
advertising, especially for cars and things, is to people that already bought the product. Because you want them to buy that product again. You want them to feel good that they bought your car, and you want them to make that decision again. And that's like your most effective advertising.
But it's like you feel foolish if you after you bought this stuff to admit that it wasn't like it's not a good car or it's overpriced. So you don't want to admit that. And there's a word for this. There's a word.
Sunk cost fallacy.
Sunk cost fallacy. Yeah. So I think that's what people have after they buy those 5.
Yes, but that's also that's the gambler's fallacy. It's also called
right.
you keep-
If you keep buying those glasses, you'll win $1 million.
Yeah, that you keep going that somehow it's going to pay off. And you're just getting deeper and deeper in the hole. But where the humans do that though, it's like okay, we need to understand it. Like Dale's talking about.
Now, okay,
the
that being
objects
said,
become a physical Horcrux.
now that being said,
there's
there's a difference between a wine glass and a sake glass and a shot glass and a highball glass and a short glass for like whiskey or something. You know, there are differences between those types of glasses because but not like the different variations.
You mean like they look different? Is that what you mean?
The whole shape of the glass is different.
Yeah.
And what you serve in them. I mean, I suppose you could put whiskey in a wine glass. It doesn't really matter, but it doesn't feel right.
Doesn't feel right. Whiskey in a wine glass.
Part part of consuming food is ritual, and these glasses are props. So one of the marketing schemes for Stella, that lager,
Yeah.
um, they were convincing restaurants in the South Bay to start selling Stella on tap. And they had this little mini keg system. And what they would also do is give you these Stella goblets that had gold leafing on them. So I would go to some barbecue joint that they, Sam's on Bascom, which I recommend, and they would have Stella. And Stella's an okay lager, but when it's served on tap in this goblet with gold leafing and the logo on it, it tastes way better than if it was just in.
So what you're basically saying is that advertising works on you.
No.
Yeah, Stella, they're pretty, like, in the UK in the 80s. There's.
It's like a woman in lingerie versus a woman in an old T-shirt. It's still the same naked woman under it, but the package.
It depends.
Yes.
Is Jimi Hendrix on the T-shirt? There's some sexiness to a woman in a T-shirt, in an old T-shirt.
I mean,
is it
on the T-shirt
ripped on one shoulder? Is it a short T-shirt because maybe she got it when she was younger? Is she only wearing underwear underneath? Is she wearing nothing underneath? There's a lot of sexiness to a woman in a T-shirt beyond, I mean, tell me, guys, am I wrong?
No, women can be sexy in T-shirts.
See?
We all agree.
But diversity for health. I mean, if she's wearing a T-shirt one day and some sexy underwear the next day, the sexy underwear is all the more enjoyable, isn't it?
But I mean, like, you're talking about, like, context. Like, if you get something in a really fancy, nice package, the context is something really nice and fancy must be inside,
Yeah.
And so when you get something in this context of really well done packaging, whether it's a glass or it's actual, like, real packaging, it does
Or
make
a
a difference.
woman?
Your perception is or a woman.
That's the only present a guy really
Well,
wants.
like,
Is
you
like
know,
a
if you
woman wrapped up with a big bow.
What's that?
Well,
I said that's the only present a guy.
Well, let me ask you a question.
Woman with a bow?
Some guys will happy that as a present. I don't want to generalize.
listening, Dale.
There are many much better men than me around.
This is the old idea of, clothes maketh the man. How do you feel dressed in different outfits? You're the same person, but you're changing your external packaging.
Yeah. Dress for success, dress for the job you want. I think it's interesting that there's billionaires that wear hoodies. Of course, they're $500 hoodies made out of cashmere. But
it's interesting that you should mention that, because rich people have been actively dressing down so that they don't stand out as being rich amongst the poor.
I was
gonna
gonna
speaking in English accents.
I was gonna go on a murder spree and kill a few of them, so that's probably a good idea.
That's a
I'm
joke,
serious.
kid. None of us are going to do that. Chris,
There's articles about this, about how rich people, they're not like a uniform, but they wear like T-shirts and jeans and stuff like that. But it's the brands of T-shirts and jeans that you see close up that they can recognize. Oh, you bought that at this store, so you must be rich like me, right? But when you're a distance away from them, you can't tell that that's a store or that's something from like Banana Republic or something.
Yeah, I mean, I think I read this about Mark Zuckerberg, that he would wear these hoodies and stuff, super casual, but they were like $500 cashmere hoodies, which sound really nice. I would like one.
That's probably what I'd do if I was a billionaire. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I would. You're not going to go around. Well, it's complicated, isn't it? I mean, we shouldn't really have the bill. I mean, we should be taxing them. I don't know what the problem with billionaires is that we're not taxing them properly.
I think we're all in agreement on that, Chuck.
Yeah,
Ta-
I mean, that's great.
Billionaires should
have
be
it been
taxed more.
but like even when we're being
Yes.
taxed highly, it doesn't really disincentivize them. They still want to make money. And the more you tax at that level, they've got more money
Well-
than they can. At some point, it's not a game for them anymore. They're well beyond. We can argue about where the happiness money threshold is. They put it up. They said, well, we used to say it was about sort of 700,000, but actually we think now about 500,000 is really.
But like to me,
but even so, or at some point,
But you know how people people have gambling addictions, right? And people have sex addictions and people have substance addictions. Some people have money and power addictions, except for in our society, we reward that. That's a good addiction. That's an addiction that,
Well, we
admire.
understand that there's a sort of motivation, like really the answer is somewhere in the middle. But we understand that, yes, if you constrain these people, they're going to find a way around it, whatever. So you want a sort of system where they're sort of working on your behalf. But you've got to be, they'll do the jobs that other people hate a lot of times. So you've got to sort of really sort of think about how, and so capitalism sort of is playing them. It allows people the opportunity of movement, but it's also corruptible, and it also requires that some social filter takes, because the money in capitalism just goes upwards. It only goes up. So you have to have something that flows it back down in the bottom that pays back the people who are working, who don't really care about money, but they want to have education.
It's called
they want to
revolution,
have
Chuck.
services.
See, you wouldn't
What's
know
that?
this because you're English, but the
Yes.
French have done it and the Americans have done it in
I think
order
the
to
English
get a
did it.
better deal.
The English did it at some point.
I
I don't know what they got from it, but
Did what?
The Puritans.
What are we talking about?
you had a Revolutionary War, didn't you?
The revolution.
Yeah,
Yes.
Civil
Well,
War.
yes. So revolution. Yes. Well, the revolution. The thing is, revolutions don't end.
Or a
they
civil
have to
war.
Continue.
Civil war.
The trouble is regarded that the revolutions sort of ended and the problems were all solved, but actually revolutions continue.
Yeah,
And-
what occurred to me, I kind of had an epiphany over the last few years. I used to be pretty down on capitalism, and then I kind of recognized that what we have in this country is a particular version of capitalism that is very cutthroat and dysfunctional and corrupt.
It's become
Did I
that
already
way
say
because
that?
it's become very corrupted.
Yeah, so I actually think free markets are probably the best way to organize society for fairness across the board, but we don't really have that in this country. So
But
if
you
you look
need
around,
to regulate those markets.
Yeah, you have
yeah,
to,
right.
Yes,
Yes,
what we're talking about.
absolutely.
Free
You have,
market,
you have to
regulated market.
yeah,
Yeah,
you have
but
to
yes.
regulate free markets for sure.
The
Absolutely.
invisible hand of capitalism holds a knife, and if
Well, it
you
does
want
here.
a free market, you're going to accept that people are going to suffer and die in that free market.
Plenty of people have suffered and died under
Right, and
communism and a lot of other forms of government.
And
even
Napoleon.
worse.
I've been reading about the Battle of Waterloo. This is very interesting.
Think about Russia and
yeah.
China. How many people perished, starved to death in those systems?
Yeah.
well,
like
that's
Napoleon.
because-
Napoleon was like a classic example of a sort of psychopathic megalomaniac, and he didn't care about any of his people. He happily expended his armies. They meant nothing.
Oh yeah,
to him.
and then he had paintings of propaganda made of him caring for his people and soldiers and stuff. None of that happened.
Yeah, none of that happened. No, but he was very good at
But-
making everybody believe it and getting a lot of people killed for his ideas and putting all his family on the throne, saying that all women should be men's slaves. Things like that. He was pretty terrible. And who had to fight him? Well, the Duke of Wellington, and there's Duke of Wellington and Blucher on the Prussian side. And they both claim that they won it, but Duke of Wellington, he's a guy that he's that very Britishness. Really, a lot of that comes back to these sort of Napoleonic wars and this idea and the sort of stoicism that they had to have in front of the sort of horrible things that are happening. That was proper war when they were sort of just blowing cannons and marching in red coats and before. Yeah, I mean, I see there's a lot of fascination to it. And then that Battle of Waterloo was really just the one where they're they just smack into each other. And Wellington's got to sort of stand there and just be cool in the face of Napoleon's bullshit.
Oh, God. Amber, you're putting a huge amount of work into painting these frames.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm on panel 3.
Okay.
Panel 3 of.
Of page 14.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say panel 3 of 500 or or something
No,
love to get-
there's 11 on this page. There's
I'd
11
love to get
panels.
Tom Luth on the show and have him talk about coloring.
Don Bluth?
Tom Luth, the
Oh, okay.
colorist for Stan Sakai and Sergio Aragones.
Yeah, that would be great.
I
Yes,
don't know
please.
him.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
have
get some
to
guests
ask
on.
him.
I'll cold
And
call
I'm sorry,
him.
I was really bad about
I've met
organising
him.
guests.
Hey, I've been trying.
Yeah.
I've been trying to organize guests.
No,
I'm
it was
sorry,
my
all my
fault. The
friends
mix-up.
are
It's because I
lame.
got that concussion. I lost track. I was like kept me.
Oh, yeah,
we got other guests that are lined
I don't
up,
care
but-
enough about the show.
How are you doing with that, Chuck?
I'm doing okay now, but I was really like for a good 2 weeks. I was feeling it. I think, and I'd say okay. I'm still like could say I'm feeling it a little bit. Yeah.
Wait, you got a concussion?
Yeah, he fell.
I fell
Oh,
down the stairs.
oh, that's
a couple
right.
weeks
You
ago.
went down the stairs because you
Well,
don't
not all
have
the way
a
down. I
railing.
just sort of missed my step at the bottom, really. But I just sort of went. Boom,
There's a railing, but those steps are kind of,
Yeah,
like,
it's my own fault.
when I come down there and I've been drinking, I don't take them fast.
Okay. I've gone
That's wrong. I was rushing. I was like, okay, yeah, okay, well, yeah, I'm an
How are
idiot. I'm okay. I'm okay. It wasn't that bad. You know, again, because of my acupuncture and stretching and exercises, I actually felt pretty well. But it was just like my head just sort of came down at the last and sort of smacked down like unexpectedly. Which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
If there'd been a nice pillow there, it'd be
Three panels done.
It's a wood floor, right?
fine. Ooh, well done. Ooh, that's very rich. Very good.
It's a wood floor down there, I think, right? It's not concrete, is it?
No, it's wood, isn't it?
I think it's wood. Wood's better.
Getting a very dimensional effect there. That's great.
Chuck's like, done talking about that.
Well, I'm trying. I'm trying to make it three-dimensional. And see, again, I got his letters up here of him talking, and so I have to do the rest of the page.
What's the
and
name
then
of
I
this?
this is Captain T and the Search for King Ollie's Gold.
Is that Captain T?
That's Captain T.
Ah.
Yeah, that's Captain T. So, and he's going, ha ha ha! As soon as I'm rich, you get the other half. And the guy says, you must think me a buffoon to take only half. 10 cats or no map. And so he dumps out the rest of his gold, which is 5 more gold. And so the tall stranger swipes it and he sticks it in his pocket, right? How much do I owe you? Oh, 1 silver each, right? Oh, your prices have increased since my last visit. Can't help it. Bug raids have been bad this season. Attacks this far north, really? And if you look at Captain T, he pulls out a knife and then he slices the guy's pocket. And the next page, he's going to swipe the coins into his coin purse and leave. So when he goes to reach for his pocket to pay, there's nothing there.
That sort of stuff is fiddly. I would do that sometimes. I had to do Pedwin, like robbing somebody like that, you know, and it's quite fiddly to get that right. Yes.
Yeah. So that's where I'm at right now, and I had to think about the pose for a long time for this last panel because my original plan was that he cut a coin purse on the very bottom. But I realized from the angle that I was drawing it at, I couldn't really do that, and I wasn't really sure how to do it. Maybe if I did a zoom in, but I thought it'd be
you
funny.
could do a zoom in, then you get a change of angle and stuff like that. I mean, it's good to think about changing angle for a shot or something. Yeah.
Well,
But I'm sorry. Go ahead, Dale.
You would just use one of the panels that's on that cheat sheet that Chuck has.
Yeah, or you're talking about the 22 panels that always work.
No.
Yeah.
This is the opposite. No, those are for always work when the writer is just writing and there's no action happening. That's what those are for. This is like the opposite because this is like action. She's like actually got some action that needs to be thought about.
Yeah, and
those panels when there's nothing happening.
Yeah, and so that's why I kind of went with this. So you see the pocket ripped open, and so and he just is completely oblivious, doesn't know. And I'm trying to do world building too by having them talk about things outside of the story, like the bug attacks.
Why don't you have any swoop lines on the knife in order to show the movement of the cutting of the pocket?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I would do the swoop lines.
Okay.
See, if I do swoop lines, I thought like, would I do them like here? I'm on the wrong layer. Would I do them like this?
A backseat driving her strip.
Can you?
I mean, would they
you
be
have a
like
Zoid?
that? Would that work?
It
'Cause
could.
It's cut
especially-
more on the other side.
You could have a sound effect coming off the knife.
Oh, yeah, that would be a good swipe.
Or
I
Yeah.
have.
You
I
could
have
be
a
just doing the
swipe.
pocket. You could be just zoomed in on the knife and the pocket. I mean, because you're going to know it's Captain T's hand.
This could be the whole show.
And you could be, and it can just be, yeah, and then a little like swipe or a slice or something, that sound.
Yeah.
Remember, just go with your
Shwick,
instinct on
shwick.
it.
Zoink.
How about shwick?
How about Zoik?
Well, this is. Let me show you the page before, so you kind of know where we're coming from. Come on. Come on, I believe in you. You can open. Come on, open. There we go. Oh, it's taking its sweet time. It's taking its sweet time. Okay, there we go. Yeah, so this is the last page.
I can't see it.
Oh, it's loading.
Okay.
It's taking a moment to load.
Do we have any loading music?
Do, 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 do.
That's what I was gonna do.
Censored.
That's actually what I was gonna do. That's the first thing that popped into my mind.
What
The
Yeah.
Jeopardy, the Jeopardy
Jeopardy.
wait
So-
music.
That must be reason for the success of that show. I feel like that
Music?
sound.
Oh, yeah.
I love that sound.
It's Trebek's charm.
So yeah, so this is the final product. This is going to be kind of what it looks like when I'm done with it. Of him going in there, and then he drops 5 coins, and the guy says, "We agreed on 10," and like I just love the shit-eating grin that T has here, which I think is funny.
Huh.
Yes, that's a good one.
Yeah, but so yeah, it's I'm getting there. It's taking its sweet ass time.
The story of my life.
And I get to use words like endeavor with this character, which is fun. I like writing really
Wait, is it an evil English person?
he's not English. No. He's actually a warthog, which are not native to England.
No,
Unless
yeah,
they have a top
absolutely.
hat.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
neither are top hats and monocles.
Top hats or top hatted anything
Nobody
is
in
native
England
to
wears a top
England.
hat and monocle anymore, except perhaps younger members
Yeah.
of the royal family, but only
Ah.
ironically.
I
Oh.
guess so. Yeah.
You
I
want to
don't-
hear something cool about Tesla? Sorry, this is a complete segue.
Okay.
Well, so I didn't know this. Let me know if you guys have heard this before. But those Teslas apparently are able to go when they have the fully self-driving car software worked out. They are able to go fully autonomous with a software update. And there's something written into the contract where when you basically like loan this car out to like a pool, like for rideshare, the Tesla gets a cut of it, and you do. I had no
Hmm.
idea. So if you had a Tesla, just hypothetically, and you updated the software, like tomorrow you would have a self-driving car that you could have someone else like rent out like a Lyft while you're not using it and do profit sharing with Tesla on that. That's insane. I didn't know that.
I
I
heard
don't
something
like
about that. I had heard that a long time ago, and I haven't
So
heard it as a big
what-
feature.
what
Also, it's a
happens-
bit like selling your electricity back to the grid as well. It's like that idea for like if
So
you're
what
installing solar
happens
panels.
if your car is being used for rideshare and there's an accident? Does Tesla
I mean,
replace your car?
I don't know. I mean, it seems like you'd have to pick up insurance, probably extra insurance if you're going to do the ride share on it.
Listen,
And-
here's the thing, though. Statistically, I don't know if we're at that point, but we'll be at the point where statistically the self-driving is going to be safer. At that point, the premiums start going up for not self-driving. No, because the trouble is, once it's like 10, 100 times safer, then it'll just be 10 or 100 times more expensive not to. And then you'll have to sign like a waiver if you want to drive it yourself. Why don't you believe it now? You don't think it ever will be?
With self-driving cars, it's the trolley thought experiment. So you have a
But
trolley.
the insurance companies don't care about the trolley; they care about the numbers.
Oh, they do.
That's a pretty good
You're supposed
argument,
to just
Dale.
you have to kill the lesser peoples. Like, you know, if it's just killing.
I'd
A
rather
person
be
or
run
B
over by an
person.
electric vehicle than a Mercedes like that slammed into Paul Madonna while he was driving his electric vehicle. In that case, I'd rather be in the Mercedes.
Oh, that's the other
The
thing.
Mercedes person's in a lot of trouble. But the electric vehicle, though, I mean, if one of those hits you as a pedestrian, I'd rather be hit by one of those. In fact, I should be out stumbling across intersections in San Francisco now, because they are going around in San Francisco regularly late at night with no drivers in them.
They're going around during the day as well.
Yeah.
And I just got ads on my phone basically asking me to sign up for, is it Cruise, or one of the companies was like, you know, please sign up. But like, so all these Teslas on the road have a potential to get updated and suddenly compete with Lyft and Uber and all this other stuff. But I'd say they're a step ahead, because they've already got this thing down with the pool of cars and basically renting out your personal car, which would appeal to me. I would do it, you know. I would do it if it's that easy. I don't have a Tesla, but and apparently they're supposed to be super safe. I mean, that's Elon Musk saying it, so he might be a little bit biased, but according to him,
until you get somebody who hates
safe
Elon
cars.
Musk in there and they vomit all over your car.
What?
Till you get somebody drunk person who hates Elon Musk in your vehicle. And they...
Yeah, well, yeah, they're gonna have to work that out. There might be some type of like system where like I'm not renting out my car to this guy who's got 2.5 stars. That seems like a bad risk. He probably smokes cigarettes and has sex in your car and then returns it.
In fact, I don't see that's probably one of the. You just highlighted one of the main advantages of taking one of these Teslas.
Yeah, as long as they leave the cocaine behind in the dash.
If I see you in the pool, I'm not going to rent you, Chuck. You ruined it now. No, but I mean, that to me, that's like insane. I never knew that about Teslas. That just seemed just insane to me, that with a software update, you have a fully self-driving car. And apparently, again, this is Elon Musk's take on it, but Tesla is the most advanced, or the closest to having truly self-driving cars, in the sense that they can cope with unanticipated obstacles, like Folsom Street Fair, or like a broken down car, or a traffic light that's out. Whereas the other companies apparently get confused by that. You know?
Well, I mean, so do Tesla.
I love the idea of them getting confused by the Folsom Street Fair. I think, you know, that shows that they're more human.
How do they handle a squirrel?
They're more advanced intelligence.
Yeah, that's a good question. I wonder what they do.
If you see the Folsom Street Fair and you're not confused.
It's a good question, because when I was in high school, there was a kid that swerved to miss a rabbit and then took the car off the road and injured a bunch of humans. And of course, you know, obviously to me, and I think most people, the answer would be you're going to hit the rabbit, right? Rather than he put a bunch of people in the hospital.
That's
pretty
kind
bad
of
for
the
the
trolley experiment right there, isn't it?
How does it handle a ball rolling out into the street?
It looks for a kid following it. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a good question. I mean, as a human driver, I always look for someone to follow that ball, whether it's a dog or a kid. That's what I would be. I wouldn't be concerned about the ball. I'd be what's coming after it.
Now I'm thinking about that Perry Bible Fellowship cartoon. But the Transformer transforms like.
But how do humans?
I don't know if I'm just not.
But how do humans
kids driving
handle
in the
that,
Transformer,
though?
like a ball comes in the road, the Transformer transforms into a robot, kicks the ball, and then blood comes oozing out.
Yes, I've seen that one.
I can't remember if it was kicking a football, but something like that. But I'd like to see the day when the car reacts to the football by turning it into a Transformer robot. But that's not going to be an issue, because they're all going to be hovering, flying drones. They're going to be these little plastic crash-proof bubbles with like a sort of balloon, and they're going to go along. All the roads will be turned into solar panel greenery. And they'll whiz along above those at, you know, different heights depending on which direction you're going, I suppose.
Are these the new cars?
You know, they won't bump into each other. They're very rarely, if they do fall down, it'll be a bit of a bounce, but you'll be sort of strapped in and you'll just sort of bounce around.
And those are the new cars?
Yeah, they won't fly super high. They'll just be just above the streets.
Yeah, I don't think you can have flying cars because it's going to be like living in a hurricane.
They have flying cars in Dubai right now.
But
I'm talking like buildings opening up and the car lands and the building closes, like flying cars.
Yeah, and they've got those drones now.
Thank you, Mocat.
They've got those flying drones, like personal drones.
Well, if Mocat says it must be true.
But I mean,
when Abby said it, I believe it. When Mocat says it, I'm much more skeptical.
I mean, like, think about a helicopter. Think about the wind that a helicopter causes. Okay, I think that's going to be pretty close to what a flying car causes if it's actually working if it has propellers on it and stuff like that, or if it's blowing out air, which it probably has to. It
works with drone technology, which is a much smaller propeller.
Yeah, but you have to have 3 of them.
Shaft.
You have to have like 3 of them. I mean, you're talking about a really windy city where there's a lot of cars. You're talking about just like.
Well, Tokyo also just approved having flying motorcycles for their police, and that's going to be rolled out like 2025 or 26.
How do the motorcycles fly? With fans?
It's the same technology as drones.
So propellers.
Yes.
In a minute, AI is going to figure out anti-gravity technology, so we don't really need to worry about all this drones. It'll be like the UFOs. We'll just go whoop.
I like maglevs.
I mean, that's what's happening. That's what's happening in the future.
Yeah.
That's us in the future coming back in our little maglev thing. So we know that's going to happen sooner or later.
Well, I mean, it's happening now, but it's just like bullet trains and stuff. But it's super cool.
Yeah.
Because they're basically like floating on whatever it is, 1/8 of an inch, this tiny little air gap.
Well, that's one thing, but I'm talking about proper anti-gravity.
Oh yeah, that'd be cool. But it's gonna
don't hold your breath.
It'll kill all the squirrels though.
I won't need to hold my breath because I will have a robotic lung and a robotic body.
Robotic lung is called an iron lung. Those things suck.
Now that's a big old contraption. In the future me, 1,000-year-old me, it will be a small digital device implanted into the.
You're going to be a head in a jar, like on Futurama,
like on Star Trek. Or wait, no, they didn't do that.
I plan to be more like the Mekon from down there on a sort of anti-gravity disc.
Okay.
With like thin little arms and legs, all thin and with an enormous head.
No.
So you're going to be like the thing inside a Dalek. Dalek, excuse me.
Yes, yeah, Dalek, not a Dalek.
The sad thing...
It's just the American accent in me.
Hey, are the Daleks?
You sounded like your American accent sounds like Sling Blade. Your American accent's like, nah, I'll take me some of them potatoes. It's like a Sling Blade. It's like part Chuck, part Sling Blade.
I live on the farm where I grow potatoes.
Yeah, we don't all sound like that in the United States.
About America.
Hey, Chuck, have you ever seen an American do a convincing British accent?
Often. Who did I see? Someone the other day did a really good one.
Like a professional actor. Do you know any like lay people that can do it?
Oh no, yeah.
Like I'm surprised. I'm always surprised at these actors that are really British playing these American roles, and I can't tell.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we were watching something.
Like these British people are taking over all of our jobs, and these Australians and these New Zealanders
taking our jobs,
taking all the acting gigs.
Not to mention Canadians.
Yeah, and the Canadians too.
Yeah, actual Americans are too weird. There's some actual Americans. Usually kind of odd.
Well, the British actors, that's part of that PSYOPs operation. The British actors deliberately undercut their salaries to take jobs away from American actors.
Do you see who's on the show here now? Do you see what's going on up here? Do you see who I'm pointing to?
Mr. Bear?
Is Theodore the Magba Bear wearing his Magba hat? Make America Great Britain again. That's the platform. That's the political platform of this show, Dale. You're on this show every week promoting "Make America Great Britain Again." So don't start undermining the hard work.
Hey, if we're talking about magma or MAGA, can I say something also that's interesting? It's just interesting.
Yes.
We need to build a wall on the East Coast to keep the British actors
Okay,
out.
that's good. Yes, like against the Black Atlantic. Yes, you need that. Yeah, but we also need to build the Zoom tunnel under the Atlantic.
Okay.
We need to stop the British invasion.
What were
Yeah.
you gonna say about MAGA, Chris?
I was gonna say that I'm on like a thread. I call it the conspiracy theory thread, but it's really all kinds of stuff. And one of the things that these guys pointed out to me is there was a hip hop song that went #1 on the Apple hip hop charts from an independent artist, and the name of the song is Boycott Target. And it's basically do you guys know about this?
Target was putting labeling on clothing. I think it was either with pride or supporting transgender. I can't remember.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, there's a bit of there seems to be a bit of a backlash from
the
community against corporatization of Pride Month.
Yeah, so it was kind of vague, but the whole thing was shot inside a Target store, which was surprising. They must have done it,
guerrilla filmmaking.
Yeah, exactly. But it's done really well. The song is done really well. I don't particularly like it as a piece of music. It's hip hop. But the thing that shocked me is it made it to #1 on the Apple hip hop charts. This is an independent artist, and it made it to #4 on the general Apple charts, which is, Taylor Swift's up there, which is like insane for an independent artist.
It also teaches you that, I didn't know this until a few years ago, but there's an entire white supremacy music business, and there's a white supremacist band. So if this song made it to #1 on Apple, I have to wonder if it was the system is being gamed by its fans. The same way
yes. How long is it #1?
But,
what are the numbers involved? And is this?
Yeah, but
I mean, this could be like a surge of people. There are coordinated groups that will surge something.
Yeah, but I mean, to get up to where Taylor Swift is.
But are they up to where Taylor Swift is? Or one of Taylor Swift's on every day of the week, or did it just like one time they popped up near?
Well, I mean, this would be like remember when it was like Casey Kasem and there was there were the top. There was a singles chart.
Yeah.
It'd be like getting up in that Casey Kasem countdown at like
#4,
which is, I mean, I don't know what the actual numbers are for that.
The hip hop chart.
It was number. It was number
the national chart.
It was number. No, this is just Apple, right? So there's Apple's one of the biggest music platforms in the world.
But just on one platform.
Yeah, just on Apple. But like as a musician that's tried to get ears on my music.
Yeah,
it is extremely competitive and difficult to do that.
But you can't compare yourself with a fluke, and this sounds like a fluke. If they haven't had anything else that's topped the charts,
I don't know.
It sounds more like
I don't
a
know.
Coordinated viral thing.
I'm just impressed by because I'm just
you have to
impressed
remember
this
there. Isn't a song. This is a protest anthem. And it is likely that it's being advertised on forums and also right-wing news.
Are you saying it's a right-wing song, Boycott Target, because it's supporting Pride, or is it Pride people saying,
it's about, I don't know if you guys follow this, but one of the things that the right is concerned about is grooming of children and teaching certain content in public schools. And that's
no.
I didn't really know that was a thing until about 3 years ago.
No, it's not, because they want everybody just to learn one thing, like any idea of diversity. So that might teach the kids something.
So the two things that occurred to me is, first of all, this is a protest song, which it kind of reminded me of like, I actually think one of the jobs of artists is to do protest songs. Whether it's like Dylan or somebody against the Vietnam War or whatever it is. Socially relevant stuff. I think that artists, if anyone's going to do it, artists should be doing it. And the second thing is the chord it struck, because Taylor Swift has a marketing budget, and that money goes all over the social platforms, and it goes to network, and it goes everywhere. And that's why she's up there, and she writes good songs, and she's got a long history. To get actually up there, you have to be resonating with something, and it just surprised me. I don't think neo-Nazis could get anywhere close to where that song went. I don't think any of the.
This is in the news. Are you 100% sure that there isn't money behind this?
That is a good point.
I'm not, but
free advertising still has a money value.
Well, I mean, like going viral is kind of when you resonate with somebody enough that they share it with their friends. They share it with, a couple people.
Well, the people that study this, I mean, we studied it quite when I worked in advertising. They were like where we were, Chris. I mean, we studied quite hard, like, making viral videos, or like, they were working hard. I mean, it's not easy to do.
It's not.
But, they were, that was early days of it. But, there's a lot of research into what makes me, and some sort of boycott or a ban that gets everybody sort of wound up to go and do it. And especially like you're talking about it. So, so now there's more people that are like talking about it and like, oh, well, I'll go do it. Like boycott Target. Yeah. People like to boycott a corporation.
Oh, I mean, like the fallout from the Budweiser thing and the Target thing has been pretty stinging financially. It turns out.
By the way, the guy who came up with that video of boycott Target about the transgender stuff, and he's in Target, he's tearing down all the clothes and stuff, has an account on Grindr. So I just thought I'd mention that.
I don't think he tears down any of the stuff in the video. Not that I saw. They're in Target, but he's not tearing down anything. They're showing stuff. It's not destructive or anything.
He pulls a shirt off of one of the mannequins.
But I wouldn't. He's not. I wouldn't classify it as like destructive. They're not smashing anything or anything like that. But
yeah, the guy still has an account on Grindr, and I think that's important to point out. The guy. The guy that made that video, he has an account on Grindr.
I'm gonna need a fact check on this.
Okay.
But the point.
We need fact checks.
But I think
facts. We'll use the internet to check our internet facts.
The thing to remember is that what we often sometimes think is viral and generated on its own, or it's just
that's true.
Homespun conspiracy theory. There are businesses behind this and businesses designed to make things look viral.
So if I was trying to prove what was going on, I guess the first thing I would do is I'd look at the history of this band. Because if they had been putting stuff out for like the last 5 or 10 years and it was pretty low level and suddenly they jump up, that would seem more legit to me. But to go back to that Grindr thing, that's not what the argument is. The argument isn't like gay is bad. The argument is what content around sexuality should you show to kids when they're really young? That's what the argument is. It's not about gay people are bad. No, that's true. I mean, that's what the real crux of the argument is. It's not that gay people are bad, and it's not that transitioning adults are bad. Yeah, but you're talking about a really fringe, extremely small group. The general problem that people are having, like in Florida, for example, is the type of sexual orientation content that kids are being shown as part of public education. It's not about what adults do with their bodies or their spare time or who they fuck.
Well, it's a big question in education. It's like, how do you prepare kids for the horrors of the adult world? You can tell them about things like the Battle of Waterloo, but they don't find it very interesting until you've sort of been an adult and had some experience, and suddenly you're like, okay, it's much more interesting.
The system that we had in the 70s and the 80s was the best, which was you had Mad Magazine, which would teach kids that everything was a lie and not to trust adults.
Yes, that's very successful. Yeah, trust the cartoonist, kids. They all.
I agree with that.
They won't tell you the truth.
And then
they'll tell you some other kind of truth.
Your parents or older brothers or older sisters' adult magazines, which you would steal from them and read.
Well, now though the internet,
those are good times.
Nowadays, kids learn from the internet, and they've just had 2 years of being locked up. Like teenagers are freaking out. They don't know, they've got so much energy, and they don't know. There's sort of riots and fights sort of breaking out, and it's becoming kind of a phenomenon.
Well, they know the world's ending.
Well, I think they don't have sports or the fear of the Battle of Waterloo.
What, kids don't have sports anymore?
Not the
this
same way.
what
You
you
know,
were
like if they
talking
do
about?
sports, it's like you gotta do the sport. You know, there's no like just running around and kicking a football about for fun. You know.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, geez, I could go on and on about what problems kids have today, and it's not good. And I wasn't aware of it until I had a kid. You know,
It's the kids' fault.
Well,
It's-
it's well.
It's their fault.
frankly,
It's
frankly,
our fault.
it's-
It's our fault for
Yeah, frankly,
we've
it's
let
our
them
fault.
free in the horrible world of the internet. But that's just the trouble. The kids are always free, and they adapt to it. And the horrors that we see as adults, then they just accept those horrors. Then they grow up, and then they realize that horrors are horrors. And
Well,
you know.
you have to remember the whole point of Marie Kondo's book, which about cleaning things up and things that spark joy. That was really subversive because if taken to the extreme, parents would get rid of their children.
not this parent.
Dale, kids spark joy. That's like the main reward for being a parent. Is
Yes,
that,
but do they
they
do it
continually
100%
spark
of the
moments
time?
of joy.
So I feel pretty lucky.
So let me share some parent fun. My daughter decided to wake up at 2 a.m.
Mm-hmm.
and wanted to proceed to play with her toys.
Yeah.
And so she was playing with a die-cast Volkswagen Beetle.
Oh, I've got a box of die-cast cars you can bring back to her if she likes them.
So you know how heavy they are.
Yes.
Right?
Take
So
up your
she's
weight
playing with
allowance.
this die-cast Volkswagen Beetle, and she broke off the steering wheel.
Yeah.
So she proceeded to come into the bedroom at 2:30 in the morning.
Yep.
And wake up Ian by throwing it at his head.
Yeah.
So I was sleeping in the other room, and Ian came in. Okay, we need to switch. Probably about 3:00 in the morning. She was up all night.
Mm-hmm.
She was scheduled for kid care at 11:30.
Yep.
And didn't make it because she passed out finally at like 11:15
Yep.
or so. And she's just out. So she's going to probably be sleeping until mid-afternoon.
Mm-hmm.
How old is she?
2.
Yeah, terrible twos.
Two was that was the hardest age for me, and all kids are different, of course, but that was the hardest age from about 1 to 2, or maybe one to 3 once she started walking. But honestly, my daughter is my favorite person in the world. Like I would rather spend time with her than anybody else.
Cheers, Chris.
Yeah.
Cheers, mate.
Oh, no, I don't
Thanks,
regret
buddy.
spending time with her or anything like that. No, I realize she's just 2, right? She's a little
Sorry, Chuck.
caveman. She has thoughts and wants and desires of her own, but she doesn't have the language to communicate them. So it frustrates me.
Yeah.
Well,
I get that.
What
It's
I'm
also-
saying is Marie Kondo admitted that once she had kids, she could no longer follow her own book. And taken to the logical
if you're going to
extreme-
just read the headline on the Facebook feed, sure, that's what she said, yeah.
So taken to the logical conclusion, if she continued that, she would have to get rid of her kids.
Yeah,
Seems
but
a little
she-
extreme. Is there a middle path?
There is a middle path, and that's what she's doing, because her book is a very sensible book about the middle, but it's not about an extremist
No, it
book.
isn't.
That's the trouble. That's why it's not so popular, because she's not a Nazi. If she came on and was like completely extremist about it, then everyone would be like, oh, she's great. But it's because she's like, oh, actually saying something sensible. Then, oh, this is too difficult. I'm going to boil it down to a single catchphrase.
I would love to
reject
see
it.
that character. I'd love to see this Nazi organizer character,
She's
like
not.
Sweep
She's
Nation
a lovely.
with a bestseller.
She's a lovely.
You must organize by
Her
color.
book
Soup-
is full of lovely
soup
tales
Nazi?
of her being a Japanese schoolgirl and like learning to tidy up around her messy family.
I think everybody. Japan seems like an extremely, like almost like an OCD organization, like a country that's a little on the OCD side when it comes to like order. They're they're immaculate, I think.
Well, yeah, they like Zen gone. Like, yes, okay, but like a Roger Dean painting.
In Japanese schools,
look at like a lovely
in
Roger
Japanese
Dean
schools, the kids clean up the school. There's no janitor. Okay, so we're talking K through 12 in Japanese schools. The kids rotate the classes as to who's going to clean the school that day.
Yeah, and they
right.
take
So like
responsibility.
on Monday it might be your call. Exactly. And so it's ingrained in the Japanese society that you basically just, it's your responsibility to keep your society
Keep
clean.
the environment
And
beautiful
so
for everybody.
when they had the World Cup in Dubai recently, the Japanese fans, despite the fact that the Japanese team lost, still cleaned up the stadium afterwards, because that's what they do in Japan.
Yeah.
I saw those.
Like here, they're like, fuck it, I'm just going to dump my popcorn all over the seat. And here's some soda as well.
Yeah.
Fuck you, I paid to get in.
Yeah.
It's insane. There's a scene in Mad Men where they stop the car on the side of a highway and they have a picnic. And at the end of the picnic, they just take the blanket
just dump it. Yeah.
and they just shake it off, and all the paper stuff and trash just goes on the side of the road. Like, and when I was a kid, I remember it was pretty common to be behind cars and they just throw stuff out the window.
Oh yeah, that was a great bit in
so
Mad Men where they went out for a picnic in the
Not
in the
that
woods,
much.
and they had this moment. And then in the end, he gets up and he just sort of shakes all the trash everywhere. and they
That's
get in the
exactly
car.
what he said.
That-
Yeah.
That was a great bit.
I mean, it still happens, but it's pretty rare, and people do get like shamed. People, like, I get pissed off at people that do that because it's public. It's like a public space. So the idea that you get to treat it like it's your own backyard is a little offensive.
Yeah, and Mad Men, they
There's
sort of
a
have the
guy
cake
here
and
in
eat it because
Denver.
they're so how beautiful it is, and you know. It's
There's
just,
a guy here in Denver that maintains a TikTok and a YouTube channel and stuff like that, where all he does is goes out to the natural parks and cleans up graffiti on rocks.
Good for him, man.
That's all he does. And so, and he'll record himself cleaning up the graffiti. Here's the graffiti. Here I am scrubbing it with my bucket of water and soap. And, and here it is clean afterwards. And we're talking about natural, beautiful rock formations and stuff that someone just decides to, write I Heart Katie over. And so, and then he'll spend a day cleaning up the I Heart Katie. And, here it is on his TikTok and stuff. He's got thousands of people that follow him. I met him once at Red Rocks when he was doing it. And I'm like, oh, man, that's awesome. I love, I follow your channel.
yeah, that's so
yeah,
yeah.
You have to sort of do that to beautify your environment. Or like, it's like one time I was at the playground, there was some trash I was just sort of picking it up when Sam was little there. And this other dad was like, well, what are you doing that for? I'm like, you're going to leave it there? That just encourages more trash.
Yeah, it's like the tragedy of the commons,
Or the broken window theory.
Yeah, you're right. There'll be more crime and there'll be more trash, and it's more permissive. People look around and they say, look at all these broken windows. Nobody cares. Like, so just drop your trash on the floor.
Well, it's not just that, but broken windows breed more broken windows.
Yeah.
That's the gist of the theory.
That was from is that from Tipping Point? It's from a Malcolm Gladwell book. I mean, I think it existed before that, but
I think
that's
that's just
it.
it's the idea of clutter, decay, stagnation.
Yeah.
And then things decay. The vortex destroys the grit.
I remember when you were super about the vortex, like a few years ago.
And the vortex, but I've realised the grid is the opposite force. The vortex and the grid are what we exist in.
Is that the?
And then we actually are the sort of destroying edge of the vortex and the grid. We exist in the sort of foaming, the hot bubbling sea foam at the bottom of the sea, the hot vents, and we've got to be just right. We're in the middle. We're like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It can't be too hot or it can't be too cold. It's got to be just right. We're here on this planet where it's just right. And we look around and there's not immediately like anywhere else, and there probably never will be anywhere that's as perfect for us as here, because we're exactly fitted to here.
What can you?
I think that humans are very adaptive.
We would evolve in generations. Yes, in generations.
Well, originally we were a savanna animal that became upright in Africa, and we lost our body hair because we were in a hot environment.
No,
right?
Or maybe we were wading apes,
We
Amber. Also,
became
David
aquatic.
Attenborough liked wading apes, even though that's not a very popular theory, but I like it. Wading apes.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going off of the Desmond Morris.
Yeah.
theory.
Desmond Morris. Yeah.
You know.
Okay. He's still. He's still popular. Yeah.
Yeah, and so the point I was getting at is that we figured out how to kill animals and put their furs on us to stay warm.
They think we started eating
and that
bones.
eventually evolved into clothing.
They think we started eating the marrow out of the bones that the other animals killed. They found this area where we were like sort of cracking open the bones and eating the bone marrow. So we were using our tools to crack open the bones.
Yeah,
and
it's
eat
got a
the
lot of
marrow.
fat
That's how
in
we
it.
got into eating meat.
Bone marrow is pretty good for you. It's got a lot of fat. I can see that.
Yeah. It's pretty good, actually.
There was
Yeah,
a-
it tastes good
There was a
if it's served up well.
there was a thing
Gross.
for a while where you could order it around here, and then it kind of got out of fashion, I guess. But you
It's
could order
gross.
bone marrow.
Mm.
Yeah, people would use it like butter. It's gross.
Yeah, it's like pate or something.
Yeah, no thanks.
You mean they smeared it on their body and used it in their hair?
No,
Cocoa
no.
It's
butter.
like mousse. It's like hair mousse.
No, or you get it served on steaks.
Um,
There was actually instruments like cutlery. You know how you would have a salad fork, an asparagus fork, a snail fork. They were actual marrow spoons that you would use to scoop marrow out of bones.
All right, very good. We'll add to the list: leafy greens, fermented cabbage, and bone marrow. That's the prescription diet. That's the Planet Urf prescription diet.
No, no.
sounds kind of
Okay.
Is that what it was?
keto. Keto.
I gotta tell you, I'm kind of hungry for snails and duck. I haven't had snails in a while, and I haven't had good duck in a while.
Yeah. Okay. Snails. I recommend snails, although they mostly taste of garlic. So they just cook them in a load of garlic. So
Well, it
it's
depends how you
like
cook
garlic,
them.
but-
Yeah, well, I mean, snails taste like whatever you cook them in. So if you cook them in butter and garlic, that's what you're going to taste.
I like
You
know-
red wine reduction.
yeah, see?
There were all these snails in my garden, and I found out that apparently they were probably edible snails, and apparently
They
there's
are,
a big problem
but
with edible snails in the
you
Bay
need
Area.
to detox them before you dare eat them.
No, I've
What?
got rid of them. I
You have to
tox-
put them on a juice diet.
I moved them.
No,
I
I think
relocated
it's
them one by
cornmeal.
one.
I think it's
They're not problem
cornmeal
anymore.
that you put them
I,
on.
I didn't know you had to detox them. If you don't detox them and you eat them, do you
they
get
have
sick?
parasites.
Oh, they have parasites.
Yeah,
Ah.
Yeah.
yeah.
Sam
and-
kept
Well,
one
wouldn't-
as a pet
wouldn't the
for a long
cooking-
time. Snaily.
Wouldn't the
he
cooking
was a
take
good
care of
pet.
that?
No, you got to detox them. I looked into snail farming, but I was afraid, the horse would like crush them as I was herding them.
Well, Amber, I would say like it's a good pet for your child. Like when Sam was little, we had Snaily. He was a very good pet. He would crawl all over us. He was a bit disgusting, but he was a good pet. In the end, his shell got sort of brittle and broken. But I don't know if that was because he was on a bad diet or whatever. But he was a good pet for a long time, and maybe he just got old. I don't know, but yeah, we loved Snaily. But he took a bit of getting used to. But he was quite sweet.
there
He'd come
are-
crawling
there-
up on your
I
head.
see. I don't mind animals like that. Like I like scalies and snakes and slimies and all kinds of things. Ian's not the fan of odd pets.
Well, he's a good
And so-
free pet and a cheap pet.
yeah,
Kind of
Well,
like
Your
a,
kid starts pestering you for a
Your
pet.
daughter already has cats, right?
yeah. She has 3.
Yeah, because
Whoa.
normally a parent works their way up the evolutionary ladder in terms of pets. Like the ant farms, sea monkeys, maybe a lizard, and then a gerbil.
Sea monkeys is
and
the
then
bottom of the scale of pets.
and finally kids.
Yeah,
Ant
they
farm, sea
dispose of
monkeys before ant farm. The sea monkeys
Oh,
don't even
yeah, I
evolve.
left out
Ants at least have
tropical
evolved to
fish.
live on the land. Sea mon-
them. Sea monkeys can be good pets. My niece, we got her sea monkeys up to half an inch long.
Now, I don't know if this was the days before video games when I was a kid. At one point, we were doing snail races, and you'd think, well, how do you do a snail race? But you put them in a circle and see which one gets out first. But actually, I remember having quite a lot of fun with snail races at one point.
They can be kind of fast. I mean, faster than you'd think.
Yeah, you could get a good racing snail.
I'm amazed because they basically have to put down this mucus track to glide over it, and the rate that they can do it at is pretty impressive when they're actually trying to move.
Yeah, have you guys seen that picture where it's a snail that started to crawl up a curve and then it crawled down? It says parkour.
A parkour snail.
No,
Yeah.
that's funny.
Yeah.
Yes, well, I really hope that when alien life forms come, they aren't like snails. First of all, because I don't want them to get angry with me for my previous abuse of snails, and but I think the worst thing would be if aliens came and they were plant life forms. Then they would be very horrified. It would be like for them, it would be like us when we see Alien and the ship's all made out of bones. They'd come and they'd see all our houses made out of wood, and how monstrous we were.
That reminds me of one of my favorite Jack Handy quotes.
What's that?
If trees could scream, would we be so cavalier about cutting them down?
Yeah.
We might be if they screamed all day for no reason.
Yeah.
Well, actually, plants do scream. You know, there were studies of
It's
how
really
plants
high pitched where we can't hear it.
how plants will
that true?
communicate chemically with
Mhm,
other
yeah.
plants
Mm.
if there's damage.
Yeah, I mean, this idea that like certain things can't feel pain, it's kind of, it just starts off into this absurd territory to me. The
Well,
reason
it's
that
the
you
two
feel
forces.
pain,
There's love and pain. You know, love and hate. You know, pain. You recede from pain. You recede from a negative stimulus. You attracted towards a positive stimulus.
yeah, I mean, if you don't have, if you can't perceive pain, then you can't perceive harm, and it's really bad for you as whatever you
I
are,
tell
a
you, yes,
plant
yes.
or
That's one
a
of the most dangerous
mouse.
things with my feet is that, you know, I can't feel anything. So if I trod on something or whatever, you know, I mean, I have to check my feet. You know, 'cause, yeah, it's very dangerous if you can't feel anything.
Yeah, so this idea that like fish can't feel or plants can't feel, and so if you chop them up, you know, they're fine with it. Never made
no.
sense to me.
No.
No, and
No.
that's an illusion that we have to maintain in order to
That
be
comes
able
from
to survive.
Christianity.
Exactly.
Is the belief that see the Romans believed that everything had a soul, right? And
Okay.
and I'm trying to remember what
Really?
the word was
Not just
for them.
people?
Especially their shoes.
Well, no, they believe
Sandals.
that everything had a soul. They believe that like the rivers, you know, had a little spirit that protected it, and that, you know, that spirit was, say, a maiden or so, to say Poseidon, who was the main god of water and the oceans and stuff like that, and this little stream would have a spirit that would basically you know, report to him. And
Yeah.
so when they had altars all over the landscape, and they would say have an altar to Poseidon, they would also have little bits on the sides for the local gods of the local waterways and stuff in the Poseidon altar.
Tolkien uses
And
that in the
so-
Silmarillion a lot, like the rivers. He says, "Oh, the mighty Sirion, he went there and he talked like the river, and, you know, and tributary to Ulmo, you know, the god of the waters and all this sort of stuff." Yes, so it's very nice. Yes.
Yeah, and so that's how the Romans felt about things. But Christianity teaches that the earth is made by God for our use, right? And it separates animals from humans, as those are the animals and they are part of the earth that was made for us, and then we're humans and we're special.
Dominion over them.
And I think a lot of that is why people divorce themselves from their common ancestry with animals.
I do sort of
You
think
know,
it's
they-
remarkable, though, the tale of Adam and Eve. I mean, it's sort of like if you had to explain to a child sort of roughly what happened, that's fairly quickly. It's sort of it's not totally off the mark. I mean, there's some dubious stuff about oppression of women going on.
How did we get?
We ate of the tree of knowledge. We lived happily in the Garden of Eden. We ate of the tree of knowledge, and now everything's a mess.
Yeah, well, I think it's kind of like the tree of knowledge is kind of like awareness. You know, it was like a awareness thing. But I've got a question. So Amber, you're saying the Romans kind of everything had a soul, and like people
Yeah.
were connected to the environment. I don't understand how Christianity won over that. Like, how did that transition go? How did it start off like that and then become the center of the Roman Catholic
it
Church?
started with Judaism. Judaism is what started before Christianity, and the split between Jewish people and Christians is that Jewish people don't believe that Jesus was the Son of God and the Messiah.
Right, they're still waiting.
Right,
yeah.
and Christians do.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from a historical perspective, they're still worshiping the same God. So Judaism was the
Abraham.
one that thought that we are separate from animals.
Right, but
and it's repeated in the Torah.
But I'm just talking about like, so just like
Yeah, I see
as
that's
a
quite
piece of
meaningful.
land, like Italy, right? So Italy goes
Yeah.
from this, like, you know, there's everything has a soul, and then it becomes the center of Christianity. What happened during that transition? I mean, I'm just talking
A lot of violence.
Well, yeah, a lot of violence. Like, remember, okay,
End
you
of
had
the
like you
Roman
had things
Empire.
like Tiberius.
And the Dark
Yeah, you had
Ages.
type-
Don't forget
yeah.
the Dark Ages was Rome, you know, falling.
Well, yeah, you had people
And
like
there's no
Tiberius and Caligula, and things went pretty bad, and then you got Claudius. So this goes back to Claudius, and so Claudius, like, you know, who was, you know, intelligent but disabled, and, you know, different, you know, he's the one that made Rome Christian.
I thought it was Constantine, not Claudius.
Well, Claudius, I don't know. Yes, okay. So Claudius had a lot to do with the sort of starting of it, anyway. Yes. So Constantine became the Holy Roman Empire, which is where it's sort of that's the beginning of the sort of Catholic Church.
I mean, what was in it
But
for him?
that's a little later on, I think.
I'm kind of like, what was in it for him?
It was Constantine that said being Christian was not illegal anymore, right? Because he had converted to Christianity, and you know, and then he also changed the center of the, you know, Rome, from Rome to Constantinople.
Yes. All right. Yes. So yes,
which you cannot go back to.
Because it's Istanbul, not Constantinople. Istanbul, not Constantinople.
That's a good They Might Be Giants song. I love that. There's a They Might Be Giants album, one of their early ones that I just love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one?
Yeah, it's got that on there. It's got The World's Address, A Place That's Warm.
Okay, here
I
we
forget
go.
the rest of the songs.
My first introduction to They Might Be Giants was Triangle Man on Animaniacs.
Is that the Triangle Man? Triangle Man does whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Animaniacs had basically licensed the song, and then they animated that with Triangle Man, Universe Man, all of them, right? And it was easy for them. It was cheap because they didn't have any voice acting.
It's really like I call it ADHD theater.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. Constantine defeats Linicus in a battle near Adrianople, becomes ruler of the entire Roman Empire, moves the eastern capital from Nicomedia to Byzantine, henceforth known as Constantinople. That's 324.
Okay.
So it took 300 years for Jesus to seep into Italy?
Kinda.
I mean,
Constantine adopts Christ in 312. He adopts Christ as patron and defeats rival Maxentius to become sole ruler of Italy, Africa, and the Western Empire. So 312, he adopts Christianity and becomes ruler of the Western Empire. But persecution had been going on under Diocletian in 300. So persecution 257 to 260, persecution under Valerian. First major persecution 250.
Oh, I like that lighting.
Oh, on here?
Yeah. It really
thank you.
changes things, those last couple strokes you did
Ooh, here we
around
go.
the eyes and the nose. Yeah.
178
thank
CE,
you.
Celsus writes True Reason, Argument Against Christianity. Sounds interesting.
Yeah. I wonder what was in it for that emperor. Who'd you say it was?
Constantine.
Constantine. Like, what was in it for him? He's like, well, so we're going to switch religions
Well,
here, and this is how it's going to...
So apparently he had a battle, and he was fighting a foreign army, and apparently he had a vision of a cross.
Yeah, okay.
While he was on the battlefield, and the vision, you know, it told him that he was going to win the battle. And so when he won the battle, he's like, that cross told me that God helped me and I'm Christian now. That's the way the story goes.
Okay, so Claudius was born in 10 BC and died age 63 in 54 AD. So, you know, that was very early for Christianity. But that's also, he's sort of dying slightly before, like, the apostles. The apostles, okay, Paul leaves Antioch in 50. So when Saul gets converted in 35 to 36. So shortly after, death of Jesus is 30. Death of Jesus is in 30. So Saul is 35 to 36.
So the birth of Jesus is 0? I thought it was the death. Oops.
No, the birth of Jesus is 0.
No, the death of Jesus is like 33,
Oh, well, actually, okay.
35?
Okay,
Yeah, something like
here
that.
on PBS's site, they reckon 4 BCE Jesus was born. So they reckon he was born in 4 BCE. So they're saying that 0 is wrong for Jesus. They're saying it actually 4.
You mean he?
Minus, or
Those
minus 4.
those are leap years. Those are 4. They have to adjust the clock so that the calendar works.
Because Herod died in 4 BC.
So Jesus lied and made himself older?
No, it's just
Usually it works the
later
other
on
way.
when, like, in 400 or whatever, when they started, like, after Constantine has sort of consolidated and at the beginning of the Holy Roman Empire, then they around 400 they sort of have the council where they decide what's going in the Bible and what's not going in the Bible. So you have like these, that's why they get excited about the Dead Sea Scrolls, because they're all like much earlier texts that like predate.
You have
when
to remember that this is all just centralization of power. Rather than having different competing priests and deities, you bring this all under one centralized thing that can be controlled.
See, that's what I'm against.
Well, then you should be a paganist.
Well, I don't know if I want to be anything really. I just
the thing is, dude, we don't, in the modern world, I don't think that we view religion the same way as someone in a pre-scientific world does. And we also have other things that are similar to religions, but we don't admit to ourselves that they are religions.
What are they?
Our behavior around sports teams, our behavior around guns, our worship of pop stars and movie stars.
I'm going to bring up Religion for Breakfast again. He has a video about the apocalypticism around AI.
You froze up there.
It's AI. It's not the mocap there. That's trouble. The mocap is a creation of AI, so it's like, mocap can't speak out against AI without like there being a major.
AI is an existential threat, unfortunately, and people aren't paying attention to it. It's going to destroy the art industry.
Do you know?
Nonsense! It's going to make people realize what actual art is.
Ray Kurzweil and Elon Musk both think that AI, generalized AI, or human superintelligence will emerge this decade. I think Kurzweil has it at 2029, maybe 2029.
What is he specifically saying?
The generalized AI, the stuff that everyone's afraid of, and hope, basically the genie's out of the bottle this decade.
Yeah.
It's Pandora's box, but in the bottom of Pandora's box is hope.
Right. Yes. So they think that will happen this decade. And frankly, I think it could. I think one thing that's like lost on the public is this idea of very nonlinear development. Like, if you have a car is on kind of a slow, more linear development timeline, but AI isn't. And there's things like Moore's law, which aren't linear at all. And I don't know if it's still holding up, but the rate of change is so different at the end of these curves that I think it surprises humans, because there isn't a lot of stuff in their day-to-day that actually follows those curves. And the other thing that could happen along the way is we come up with some new tech that advances AI, just like we came up with new tech which allowed you to take a computer that was in a gymnasium and put it on your desktop. Those first computers, they never thought that you'd ever be able to work on a desktop computer because of vacuum tubes. Then the transistor was invented.
Yep.
And when that was, it completely changed the game. If you had something like that comes up in the next few years that completely changes the game for AI development.
Yeah, quantum computing. I mean, the AI is going to accelerate everything. Like quantum computing.
Have you guys ever played? Have you guys ever played Fallout at all?
Played what?
The video game Fallout.
No.
Is that where you go into a bunker?
No.
You come out of a bunker, actually.
Oh, okay.
So the concept of Fallout is that sometime during the 1950s we had nuclear winter. And there's this company named Vault Tech that put everybody, not everybody, but a bunch of people in the grounds in these vaults that had like really nefarious evil experiments going on in the vaults and stuff. And so each new game, you are a vault dweller, basically waking up from like cryo sleep or something, and then coming out to the world that exists after the bombs have dropped like 200 years later, for example, for Fallout 4. Anyway, the reason why I brought up Fallout is because when you were talking about oh gosh, I lost my topic because I had to explain what Fallout.
Well, I don't know.
AI, yes.
AI, yeah.
Transistor. Okay, so what made me think about it was they were trying to come up with a visual aesthetic to make the Fallout universe outside of our universe, right? So it looked different, and they decided that the transistor was never invented in that universe, and that's why they went to nuclear technology for everything. And so it's just kind of interesting. So when you look at the aesthetic of Fallout games, think of them without that transistor technology. So that's why everything's like big and bulky in the games. But apparently I'm the only one who plays the games, so I will be quiet.
Well, I had a good game of James West's Gozer last weekend. That's a role-playing game devised by my cartoonist friend James West. He does these amazing like fantasy illustrations. He's very sort of cartoony, very sort of like raw and like just very sort of creatures from the id. But there's something about it, like they're very simple, but they sort of transport you away. His illustrations and playing the game, like he loves to make these games. He has a sort of zine, Black Pudding, that he puts out like with all these sort of charts and tables. But Gozer's like a whole game. He's done a few games and. Yeah, it was just really fun. We had a really good game. It's just like walking into one of his cartoons or something. It was really good stuff. So check out Gozer. Little plug there for my friend. GOZR.
The thing that interests me, that I guess the FDA is allowing Elon Musk to do surgical implant testing of
I
saw that.
I have heard nothing but horrible things about what has happened to the monkeys in that program. Yeah. And if they can't even get it with monkeys, why are you doing human testing? I'm sorry.
I thought you were sort of a result of that program, Mocat, like Rocket Raccoon. Aren't you the result of some sort of scientific testing? Or you're naturally purple?
We were talking about
naturally purple.
Okay. We were talking about disruptive technology to assist with the development of AI. And this is where I think that we're more likely to go. We were talking about Moore's Law. There's a limit just based on the size of atoms on how the traces on a silicon chip can be. And we are still experimenting with quantum computing, but there's a real possibility that we're going to be talking about wetware computing and using human brains or lab.
Well, it'll be genetically engineered stem cells. It'll be human brain cells. They'll be grown from scratch. But yes, and they'll evolve into these strange robotic hybrid things that will.
What's the name of the woman that had cancer in the 60s and they still have her cancer alive?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, right. It's in a lot of the soul cultures these days.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's what I kind of imagine is where they're going to start when they do Wetworks, is they're going to basically have neurons or cancer or something in
Henrietta Lacks.
Yeah, and they're just going to grow it, Like
I want to know the details on this the Neuralink thing, because they've got approval to do some type of human trials, but I don't know the specifics of it. And where do you get these humans? And what are you?
Why do you want to be
the
one?
Streets of San Francisco.
A lot of medical experimentation sometimes takes places in prisons.
I mean, has anyone read The Terminal Man by Michael Crichton?
Yeah.
Saw the movie.
Yeah, I mean, that's a kind of scary scenario.
Yeah, but on the other hand, there's people with there have been implants in order to stop seizures.
Right, and pacemakers.
Well, my
people
brother
to
has an
see-
implant for his insulin. So he doesn't have to inject insulin. He just replaces a cartridge,
That's
and
like
it
a pellet.
automatically does his insulin for him.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not gonna sign up for any of that stuff. I mean, I agree with Elon on some stuff, and I don't on other stuff. I don't understand his take on population. I kind of understand his thing on us, the Mars city. I don't want to be in the beta testing for Neuralink for sure. I don't think that's going to be ready in my lifetime, but maybe 100 years from now, it'll be okay.
But with the advances in medical science, you may be still around in 100 years. Or 750.
Do you really want to do that? I don't want to be. I don't want to extend my life. Really,
I want to live like
I'm
4,000
kind of
or
like I
5,000
got my
years,
75
like
years.
prescience, like the God Emperor of Dune. I want to be able to see clearly forwards and backwards through time.
Well,
You know what, Elon Musk had something really interesting to say. He said, like, some people want to live forever, and his take on it was like, bad stuff's going to happen when that becomes a reality. Like, that's not going to be
and we'll
good.
need it when we're going to the stars. It takes a while to get there. Like, you can probably get to the nearest stars in about 7 years if you can accelerate up close to the speed of light. But for you, it'll be about 7 years. For people back on Earth, it'll be way, way longer. And then you'll find they got there ahead of you on a wormhole. But all right.
One of the concepts of the singularity is the ability to upload your consciousness to some form of AI. And it's this drive to escape death. So this neural link is just part of this drive to be able to somehow survive old age and survive death.
Yeah.
See, death doesn't
Death's
scare me
around us
like
anyway.
that.
Like
And
our
there are some
atoms,
billionaires.
our atoms have spent a lot of time being dead before they form themselves into us, and they'll spend a lot more time being dead after they're being us. But while they're us, they want to have a good time.
There are
Make
some
a
billionaires
difference.
that want to live forever. Elon Musk isn't one of them. But there are
The
some.
thing is, it's not you anymore. That's the whole point. It's like even your skeleton, after 12 years, is completely regrown. So you're not even who you were 12 years ago.
But it's like the blueprint's the same, right? The organization is the same. It's like
But no, because your epigenetics has changed your genes. Your genes change over your lifetime. You like it's a sort of chicken and egg effect.
that's true. But
So-
the way I look at the human body, it's kind of like a blueprint. And if you have a house and parts of it get destroyed and repaired, you could have a completely different house 20 years later. But the blueprint's the same. The problem is the blueprint of humans breaks down. So every year that blueprint gets harder to read. And then when
Yeah.
you try to rebuild that house, it's not quite that house anymore.
Right,
know?
the vortex has destroyed the grid of your DNA. That's like this sort of
vortex.
replicating pattern somehow. A, B, C, D, like double helix spiral.
So you
It's a
have to
nice grid.
explain to me
It's
this
sort of in the form. It's
vortex
trying to
theory.
survive the vortex. It's in the form of the vortex because
Yeah.
it's in this double helix spiral, which is like there, but it's gridded together and
You
it somehow it
anesthetized
forms
Dale.
a pattern that somehow like can replicate itself. But yes, the vortex is always trying to destroy it.
Amber, you know how I
Yeah?
always say that we live in a comic strip?
Yes.
Okay. The vortex is the panel layout.
Okay.
No, that's the grid.
Yeah.
The vortex is the story and the life of the characters that's held in place by the grid.
I think you guys are like you're all like comic people, and you're kind of like you're imposing that on, like you're looking at life through this like comic lens, and so you're imposing this type of thing on. Like I could do the same thing with music. I could just say
Yeah.
like, well,
It's all vibration, man.
yeah, I could say it's like all about like
It
vibes
is.
and stuff like that.
You know,
the
that's where
universe
string
has a-
theory started. Was the guy Brian? What's his name? Brian Gibson, I think is his name. The guy who first started writing about string theory with the Elegant Universe. He came up with that theory because he plays guitar. And he's like, I
yeah.
wonder if the universe has vibrations.
Harmonic vibration. Well, that goes way back. I mean, yes, the harmonic
You know-
vibration. I mean, yeah, all music is to do with harmonic vibrations.
And there's
you know,
waves.
the waveform,
Yeah.
which is the basic form of the vortex, is the waveform.
and there's
It's
definitely
Charlie Brown zigzag on his T-shirt. It's the wiggle in Scholz's line. As
Oh yeah,
well.
but he's made the zigzag straight, so it's nice and simple in Peanuts. There's no wave; it's just zigzag.
and there's all kinds of waves going through the universe, like gravitational waves, everything the sun puts out, radio waves. There's all kinds of stuff, information traveling on waves, all this stuff in the electromagnetic spectrum.
No, the zigzag is a gridded wave, isn't it?
I think what's
like a
going to
triangle wave.
He's
In
gridded
music,
the wave
you'd
down
call it
to
a
a
triangle
very
wave.
elemental form. Yes, it's the
what I
wave
think is
and the
going to
grid
blow
together.
people's mind is when we find the graviton. Because right now we don't have any idea how gravity affects the microscopic, view. The
You're
elemental
talking about a gravity particle.
Yeah, exactly.
No
like
such
they have yet to find a gravity particle.
Well, there you have it.
No such thing.
Yeah, that would prove we all exist.
Wasn't
Albert,
the
and we
gravity
don't, so,
particle isn't that an
know,
antiquated
we're all just-
scientific thing that they were looking for?
Yeah, we're all just a figment of God's imagination, basically. Either way, you
We're
look
all
at it.
just doodles on the page.
Dale seems to think God's got some friends who are cosmic readers, but I don't think so. I think we
Oh,
are
I'm
the
100%
readers.
certain of it. Those
Oh
are
no,
the faces.
I think we are the readers.
Those are the faces that you see in random patterns. That's how we interpret higher dimensional beings.
Pareidolia.
Yeah.
So when I'm rubbing in my eyes, I'm looking at the fourth wall.
Yeah. Yep. We exist for the amusement of others.
I think it's all at the
Yeah.
end of The Meaning of Life by Monty Python. Those last 3 minutes. It's all right there.
Well, I feel like as a cartoonist, it's my job to exist for the amusement of others, but also, for the their edification and enlightenment at the same time.
That's what our actual afterlife is. I mean, when we read something like Sherlock Holmes is stuck in that lower reality of those stories. But his afterlife is that he infects our minds, which he gets to live through our minds in this higher reality. So when we die, we have become part of the memory of a higher dimensional being.
All right, Sherlock Holmes is good, but the Duke of Wellington's better. They're quite similar, but Duke of Wellington has more girlfriends.
Well, that's because he invented
And he invented a dish.
Yeah, he invented some stuff. He invented Wellington boots.
He sounds way more delicious.
No. I was
it's
talking
beef
about
Wellington.
the beef Wellington was
Yeah,
invented because the Duke of Wellington defeated Napoleon at Waterloo. And they went, wow, we're going to celebrate this by making a dish.
Yeah. You ever tried
they
to
should
cook
have.
it?
Well, and also Napoleon
No,
had
it's
Neapolitan ice cream, so that's like perfect thing. Beef Wellington followed by
it's not
Neapolitan
a
ice
terrible
cream.
dish, but it's really hard to cook because you don't know if you've done it right until you cut it open.
But the Duke of Wellington was a good guy, and Napoleon wasn't. That's my final word on the subject.
Guys, I'm going to have to start wrapping up here because I have to go
Hey,
to work.
Amber, I looked at that TikTok you sent me. That's not those aren't the people that do the hip hop video. That's a completely different person. That guy's white.
That was the video that I was talking about where they found him on Grindr.
Yeah, that's a completely different guy.
Okay.
I'm talking about a hip hop band where nobody is white.
Guys,
I don't judge.
I'm out of here.
Bye,
All right,
bye,
bye.
Dale. All right, well, I'm going to call an end to the show.
Yeah,
We can
I'm
keep
gonna call
chatting
it
for a
too.
bit, but all right, yes.
Longest show ever.
Okay, thanks for tuning
Love
in,
all our
everybody.
viewers. Don't eat people.
We'll
Don't
be
eat
back.
people.
Yeah, we'll be back. Don't eat people. We'll be back next week with
I guess.
who have we got next week? Steve
Steve
Troop
Troop.
of Melonpool. Yes, please. Yes, sounds great. Looking forward to that.
Yeah,
So,
he's really excited to show us his puppets.
okay, great,
Ooh,
fantastic.
I wanna
All right,
see puppets.
puppets with Steve Troop
Yeah.
next week.
Wait, puppets
he-
and puppets.
He's been teaching classes on puppetry, on how to build puppets and stuff, and going over mechanisms. And so he has this whole line of robot puppets that he's made, Rosie from the Jetsons and Johnny Five and stuff like
Amber-
that with different mechanisms.
Amber, can you send me a link to his website or Facebook page so
Yeah,
I know who
absolutely.
this guy is? All right.
Yeah,
Because
I don't know
sounds
if he
wonderful.
has his puppets on his Facebook page, or he has them on his Facebook page, but I don't know if he has them on his website.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
All right, très bien. All right, I'm theme tune. See you next week.
Okay.
All right, bye, y'all.
Bye.
Here's a theme song for Chuck Wheelan Showy. He asked me to write one, but I stole from David Bowie. Here's a theme song. Chuck Wheelan is the best. We have lots of hosts, but